selfish. December, the world turns to Doha, Qatar for chess at its fastest and fiercest. The 2025 FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Championships bring the globe's elite to battle under lightning time controls. December 26th to December 30th, Rapid and Blitz formats designed to reward precision, courage, and creativity. In the heart of the Middle East, Doha offers more than a board, a world-class venue, a cultural backdrop, and a stage worthy of legends. With a €1 million prize fund on the line and the title of world champion at stake. The 2025 FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Championships, the ultimate test of fast chess.
Welcome to the FIDE Online Chess Museum. The International Chess Federation proudly presents the FIDE Chess Museum, an online space celebrating the rich history and evolution of chess. Explore exhibits that trace the game's fascinating journey. Discover the origins of chess, beginning in the distant past, and follow FIDE's centenary journey. Rare chess sets, unique books and memorabilia, autographs of chess legends, trophies of historical tournaments, and stories of the chess champions. Explore the game's legacy and future. Chess is more than a game. It's a global culture of strategy and unity. Join us to experience this unique online journey where history, culture, and passion for chess converge. And also on your phone.
The crucible of competition. The eyes of the world. Goa, India, hosts the 2025 FIDE World Cup, where over 200 of the top chess players in the world face off in an 8-round knockout tournament.
This queen has nowhere to go. That is the end.
Excellence, perseverance, and stamina bring glory, national pride, and a spot at the illustrious Candidates Tournament. The globe's best chess players hope to add their name to the list of champions.
Ooh, he made a move in 1 second.
The 2025 FIDE World Cup. Let's get these games started.
To Goa, India, a place of sunny beaches and relaxing escapes. But beyond these peaceful shores, the battle is anything but calm. For over 2 weeks now, the FIDE World Cup has pushed the world's best chess players to their limits in a brutal, unforgiving knockout format. Over 200 players began this journey to fight for a share of a $2 million prize fund and for something even more precious, 3 qualification spots to the 2026 Candidates Tournament. Now only a few grandmasters remain standing, and today the tension reaches its breaking point is the tiebreaks of the quarterfinals. I am your host, International Master Anna Rudolph, and I'm joined by world-class commentator Grandmaster David Howell. David, welcome back.
Been watching you guys commentate on the last few days, and I couldn't resist jumping back in. And what a time. It's going to be so important today, so decisive in the race for the candidates.
It is indeed. Out of the 4 matches of the quarterfinals, only one of them was decided in the classical portion. That means 3 thrilling battles for today. Who will make it to the semifinals is the main question, and the tiebreak format is very different to our usual classical games. David, let's break down those very different time controls we're gonna see today.
Exactly. It's all about small best of 2 mini matches. They start off with 15 minutes plus 10-second increment best of 2. If the scores are still tied, if it's 1-1, then they go to 10 minutes, 10 plus 10, then 5-minute blitz games, 5 plus 3, then 3 plus 2 blitz games if they're still tied, and finally Armageddon. We will hopefully find those 3 winners of these small matches at some point in the day, but it's just a question of how far they go, how much it will take to separate them, Anna.
How much it will take to separate them. Indeed, these are 2 grandmasters that were very hard to separate in their classical games. Sam Shankland and Andrei Esipenko fought really hard, but that was a very even battle. And I'm really curious to see who's going to be the better one in speeches. We are starting out with the rapid format. And oh boy, here comes the handshake and the tension, the nerves, everything is kicking in. They are so close to the candidates, David. They're so close. If you make it to the semis, it's basically a 75% chance mathematically.
Exactly. They can almost taste it now, the candidate spots. But of course, they need to get the job done today. And of the 3 games we've seen so far, very different. We've seen a French defense on the top right. We see a Queen's Gambit declined on the bottom. But on the top left, we see one B3 played by Jose Martinez. I've never seen him make that move before on move 1. And Sindarov is already thinking. The stakes
I love
so
it.
high.
I love it. When is it best to bring out your 1B3 if not in the quarterfinals for a candidate's ticket? Isn't it the right moment? But that's a great surprise. And you can see how Sindarov is spending nearly over a minute here. It's B3, but definitely he was caught off guard. What setup will he go for is the main question here.
Exactly. And he brings his knight out to F6, still deep in thought. He's the youngest player left, Sindarov, and it's definitely the biggest game of his career. It's probably the biggest day for all of these players in front of us today. And yeah, I'm not surprised to see him burn a bit of time. You can get away with it in 15-minute chess, but if they go down to the blitz, he'll need to move a bit faster than this.
Absolutely.
So
wow. I'm loving it. I'm loving how Jospem has come to this tournament very confident. Of course, we know Jose Martinez Jospem as a really strong speeches player online, but he has been proving himself here in classical chess over the board very many times. So kudos to the Mexican Grandmaster for showing also over the board what he's capable of. And he's so close to the semifinals. All he needs to do is win this tiebreak match today. But that's what Sindarov wants as well. And his compatriot already is in the semis. They would play against each other, Yakuboyev and Sindarov, if Sindarov makes it through.
Exactly. That's what all fans in Uzbekistan are cheering for. At least then they'll guarantee that they have at least one candidate, maybe still 2, if Sindarov wins this match. In the meantime, double fianchetto from Jose Martinez. He's going to put his bishops on B2, on G2, and yeah, very, very flexible for the middle game.
I love it. I absolutely love the approach of Jospem. I wouldn't be this brave though, but I trust his preparation and his intuition to go for something not so theoretical. It's gonna depend on the middle game and the basically the speeches skills as well. Of course, it's still not that short of a time control, but shorter than classical chess. We are in the 15-minute rapid games. And David, if you would like to take us through some of the other openings as well. At the moment here, everything is symmetrical, almost fully symmetrical in the game between Jose Martinez and Yavakir Sindarov.
Yeah, we'll move away from this one. Probably at some point, one of the players will break either white with d4 or black with d5, and then we'll see some real action. But we'll come back when that happens. Let's go to the bird's eye view and see what's been happening on the other 2 boards, where Wei Yi is taking on Arjun Arigaisi. Bit of a lucky escape yesterday, maybe, for Wei Yi, but he's playing a very aggressive setup against the French defense. And Sam Shankland is playing quite aggressively as well on the bottom there against Esipenko, and the Queen's Gambit declined. Both of them look
love
quite
how
exciting.
the H-pawn, David, Harry is making such a debut again in the tiebreaks. Harry the H-pawn up the board in both of those games, H4 or even H4, H5 in case of Sam Shankland. I love it. This is promising to be a spectacular day.
Exactly. Let's start with Sam Shankland because he's pushed his H-pawn the furthest. So let's start with him. We'll come back to Wei Yi when he's shown why he's pushed his H-pawn in that French defense. But Sam's just played a good move, according to the computer, given an exclamation mark. I guess, Anna, he's just trying to get his knight to this square. He's going to try and get his knight in f5, helped by the h-pawn here.
Yeah, with all that extra space on the king side, and the f5 square is such a pretty square for a knight. If he gets the knight there, that would already pose serious questions to black on how do you deal with the pressure over the g7 pawn? How do you deal with the pressure once you castle your king will be under attack thanks to this knight on f5, if white manages to bring even more pieces to the king side. So we see Esipenko calmly responding with knight to e6, allowing the trade. Knight takes or rook takes, David. Let's give some tips here to everyone watching.
Yeah, that's a big question. I think rook takes is probably the least likely, just because then black will never castle, and it's nice to keep that option. So probably knight takes bishop, but he also can take the other bishop, Esipenko. I'm wondering whether he's thinking about that before the other bishop saves itself and runs into the center.
And that makes a lot of sense that he's pausing. I think this is very instructive to everyone. I keep doing this also in my own games the few times I play. You know, we just calculate capture, but no. Taking back is not obligatory, and especially in a position like this where you can pick, do you want to take the light square bishop or the dark square bishop? He goes to knight to capture the h7 bishop, but I think knight takes f4 was a serious consideration, as you said.
Yeah, knight takes f4. Maybe the white bishop would have come back to f5, and the black knight would have had to retreat. Some complications there. Esipenko just wants to keep it simple, but now Sam Shankland can decide whether to move his bishop into e5. Maybe that still gets hit, or just jump in. I was going to say knight f5 you can still play anyway, and double pawns not the worst thing in the world here for white. It's all about the powerful knight. This is very simple stuff.
That's a very, very strong knight, and he doesn't mind that his pawn structure will be ruined. Do you think Esipenko will take on f4, or is there anything else he'll be considering here? What would be your thought process in a position like this, David?
Yeah, I think the first thing he will calculate is knight takes bishop, white will take back, and then he'll decide whether he's feeling brave enough to castle. This pawn will be hanging on g7, so either black can castle or defend it with his bishop. He'll try and calculate it a little bit there, but if he's not happy with the black king on this side of the board, maybe he will be tempted to just move his queen forward and then try to castle the other way, kind of before or after knight for bishop exchange. To be honest, I think he's going to take, just because that offer will not last for very long. And this might be the final moment where you properly ruin the white pawns. How about yourself, Anna? Would you be tempted to go for the positional approach, take the bishop, or do you think he'll try and keep his strong knight on e6 a bit longer?
It's such a hard one, because I would love to trade that bishop. I would love to get rid of it. At the same time, I'm so terrified of that knight on f5 and castling into a potential attack. But maybe that's what black needs to do in order to also oblige white to respond to the question, okay, what are you going to do about your king? Because once you push your h-pawn up the board, you're unlikely to castle there. That would be quite a weak king structure. And also castling queenside is quite scary. I feel like white perhaps will not castle at all. And if we see a trade on f4, it opens up the e5. So you do need to do something about the white king. Maybe it will just step to f2 and say it's safe in that tiny square behind the pawns.
Yeah, that would be quite a cool move to play. And then white is free to attack on the queen side, king side, depending on where black goes. This is very difficult for Esipenko. It's also interesting, Sam's played so quickly that Esipenko probably doesn't know whether he's still in prep. If he thinks that, then he's probably a bit scared, so will burn his own clock a bit more. If not, then he just thinks Sam is freestyling, and he's probably going to say, oh, I'll just take your bishop and damage your pawns, then I'll castle and call your bluff. And he does take the bishop. There we go. Is he going to castle now? He does. Very brave stuff. But Sam does have this strong knight, like we said, and it's going to be hard to get rid of for the rest of the game.
Really hard to get rid of. You cannot push the g pawn, because then the h6 pawn falls. The rook is ready to go to the e5. So I really wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see something funky like king to f2 sooner or later, or queen to d3 and try to castle. Would you castle here queenside, David? Or is the king safer on f2? What's your call?
Oh, that's tricky. I really like the idea of king f2. It saves a move. I think if you castle queenside, you probably also have to go king b1, so it'd take a bit longer. I would probably there we go. Start with queen to d3, as Sam does.
Not reveal your
And-
cards.
Exactly. Decide next move. Decide depending on what the opponent does.
Yeah, especially if black will go rook e8, so then you feel like, okay, he spent a move on forcing me make a decision.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Rook e8 is very likely. Bishop d6 first. Ooh, Anna, I think you're going to get your wish. Black gains time against the f4 pawn. If white just defends it, a check, and white doesn't have time to castle queenside, so white will have to play king f2.
Yay! It's gonna feel like white was forced to do this, but maybe he wanted to do it anyway.
Yeah, Esipenko, he's saying, move your king, you're not going to castle, or you'll have to drop your f4 pawn, which I don't think Sam will allow. So we'll probably see g3, a rook check, and the white king move away. Talking of moving away, though, let's move away from this board because there's crazy stuff happening between Wei Yi and Arjun Erigaisi. I want to get your take on this. That's the board on the top right, Anna, where it looks like Wei Yi is playing caveman chess, going straight for checkmate. There's a knight on g5, there's a pawn on h4, like you said earlier, and for once it's Arjun who's actually caught out in prep. The whole World Cup, he's been shocking his opponents early on, surprising them. This time he's the one caught out.
I know this is for him very unpleasant, of course, not just for the fact that there's a knight on g5 and white is ready to go for some checkmate attack with queen h5, queen h7, but to be caught off guard when you are the one usually who gets the surprise in. So great preparation by Wei Yi. I was so celebrating. That is the French defense, by the way, but I don't want to see the French defense lose in 20 moves. And at the moment, there's serious danger around Arjun's king, and I have no idea what he's going to do about it. Because this knight on g5, the problem is you can't just go and say h6, the knight will have to go back, because with this pawn on h4, white wouldn't even mind, I think, if that knight is taken, because it opens up the h5, the rook comes into the game, queen h5, and then you're threatening checkmate on h8 or h7. So this is already looking like something had gone wrong, at least a little bit. If we roll back a move or two, was there a moment where Arjun made at least an inaccuracy? It doesn't look safe and sound as it is.
Yeah, and Wei Yi played this capture on c5 very early. Normally they wait a bit longer with white, but he castled. I don't know whether maybe castling too early is another issue here, but after h4, you did ask about the inaccuracy, and e6 is given a question mark in that position. Maybe just a bit too slow. Maybe Arjun needed to bring his knight out to c6, so now knight g5 is impossible due to d4, and this would be bad news for white. So maybe a6 was the guilty move here, the culprit, and knight g5. This does look very, very scary. Anna, you're the French defense expert. How would you try and defend in Arjun's shoes?
Oh, goodness me, pray. I'm not even religious, so this is bad. No, this makes so much sense that unfortunately a6 was too slow, and if you had the knight on c6, at least you would have prevented knight g5. I think this is when it kicks in. Arjun knows that he had gone wrong, and he needs to assess how bad is bad and what's the best defense out of this, because he made a mistake. And unfortunately, chess is so unforgiving that even one inaccurate move can knock you out of the World Cup. This is the first game of the tiebreak, so there will be another game with colors reversed, and this game is not yet over. It's not curtains, but he is going to have to find some miraculous defense. You asked me, David, the question, and I'm like trying to dodge it by talking about anything and everything, but how to defend this? How can you bring more pieces to the king side, or how can you create some kind of a barrier there? He goes and pushes the pawn f6. Okay, that usually is great if you can play it, but the computer says it's another mistake.
Oh dear, Arjun might have just made things worse. And okay, we very quickly see a pawn capture. I was going to say there are options for white there, but we do see the black rook take back. And yeah, the question now is how white attacks h7, whether it's bishop to d3, whether it's queen out to h5. It feels like white needs to gain a bit of time, and then probably white just castles queenside with a big attack for the rest of the game. And maybe we can just jump in to show what Wei Yi is thinking about. There are some cool lines here, Anna, that would be maybe. Very tempting right now for Wei Yi. There's a lot to think about. If we just go back after f6, just to point out that this is not me, this is the computer, but queen to h5 was apparently almost killing immediately.
Oh.
Due to due to your idea. It's like the fishing pole trap, I think they call it, when a knight is given up and white just breaks through on the h file. If black plays h6, check this out, so cool. White can take the black knight, deflect the black bishop, and now just queen into g6. And this is so crazy.
Goodness me.
And apparently, being a piece down, white is just winning. White's just going to take on g5, open up the h file, and black has no defense, incredibly. But Wei Yi went for something similar, but he took an f6 first. And okay, queen h5 given a question mark. Maybe Arjun's back in now because there's no queen g6 anymore after h6.
Yeah, this has been, oh goodness me, absolutely brutal. Of course, it's easier for us with the computer evaluation, the bar screaming that f6-2 was a mistake. Queen h5 seems so logical, but you're right, that some of the other ideas will not work in the same way. So Arjun is able to push h6, and thanks to his rook on f6, the king feels a little bit safer than before. The g6 square is guarded, and there is nothing immediate. White will probably continue by castling queenside, and that knight on g5 is never really touchable. If you take, the pawn from h4 will take back and open up the entire h file. Bishop to d4. Okay, forcing matters, attacking the rook. Gets another question mark. It just goes to show how difficult and complex this position is, David.
Exactly, especially in rapid chess, right? Like in classical, probably the players would think for 20-30 minutes on each move, and they'd probably find the right solution. But I don't blame bishop d4 at all. I think that's a very human move, and I think he's trying to set some nasty traps. Like now, rook takes f4 would lose due to that queen g6 idea we mentioned, and there's going to be checkmate on h7 or g7 or h8. It's just
how beautiful that is, that after rook takes f4, both the bishop of white is hanging, the knight is hanging, and you just play queen g6 and say, hey, you can take one of my pieces, but not both.
Yeah.
Goodness me.
I know. Arjun's going to have to sacrifice now. I think he's just going to have to let his rook go. Like, I didn't see any way to move that piece. So Wei Yi plays the most natural move in the position. Maybe castling was fine too, but he sees material. He's going to take material. Can't blame him. And maybe we just show that on the board while Arjun ponders what to do next. This is definitely the most dramatic game of the of the first tiebreak round here. But let's just show rook takes pawn, for example, getting the rook out of dodge. Rook takes pawn and queen g6. GG. Game over. Like you said, Anna, queen takes g7 is threatened mate. And this is the sneaky one. Check. And the black king has nowhere to go. This is the type of thing that's running through Arjun's mind. He must be terrified right now.
Of course. And now I'm like, why is the computer giving a question mark to a move like this that attacks a rook that cannot move away? So at the least, Wei Yi is winning an exchange if he wants to, but he might not even take the rook. He might just continue his attack with castle queenside and bring more pieces into the game. What is Arjun going to do about this?
Oh, he defends the rook with his knight, but okay, this is another dubious move, apparently. I was a bit surprised. I thought he would try to cover the f7 square, like maybe queen to f8 or something like that, just to say, take my rook. It's fine. It's only the exchange, but at least I avoid any checks. And he's allowing Wei Yi in next move. The rook falls. Incredible that taking the rook, the most natural move in the position, is given a miss. Maybe he should have just castled Wei Yi. There was no rush, but...
The computer is brutal. These are such human moves, the ones that Wei Yi has been playing to continue his attack, and now he's going to be up material, and then the attack still goes on, because now that the rook is gone, the f7 square is available for the white queen. You can also castle queenside. It's looking terrifying.
Yeah, imagine being material down and being attacked. That's like the worst of both worlds. And Wei Yi now. He's gonna probably
can play queen to g6 as well to threaten knight f7. So a castle or queen g6, a combination of those ideas.
Yeah, I agree. Queen g6, like that looks like it even wins another pawn. Queen g6, you can play knight f7 next move. You can pre-move knight f7 and then take knight h6 for the check.
Pre-move it over the board. That would be awesome.
Yeah. it's such a safe pre-move. Like black's not going to take the knight on g5, so knight f7 is unstoppable. Queen back to g6 looks super strong for Wei Yi.
Is he gonna play it, or is he considering castling? Castle queenside looks promising too because the rook gets into the game. Any other moves he might be looking at, David?
I think it's one of those two. I think like castling queenside, like it's just super natural, really easy move to play. But after bishop d7, I guess he'll start calculating because black's bishop is coming back to e8 to defend. But whoa, queen takes knight, Anna.
Whoa!
I didn't see that one.
Okay, queen sacrifice. I did not see that coming. Double exclamation mark. So he's simplifying the position by giving up the queen. Next move is knight to f7, fork, picking up the black queen on d8. All right, even better than queen g6 apparently. I completely missed this idea and I wanted the same knight fork.
Yeah, I think we were both so focused on giving checkmate, right? Like we both forgot that you've done the hard work. If you're in Wei Yi's shoes, you've done the hard work, won the exchange. Why not simplify? Very, very logical, practical approach. Minimal risk. He's going to be the exchange up. Black has the bishop pair, so it's not over. But yeah, looking tough for Arjun Erigaisi. Knight takes queen now. Oh, this looks really bad for black. White's just going to castle. White can play f5 maybe. Break the black pawn chain.
I like f5 a lot. Is he going to push that now, or is he going to castle and then he's threatening f5?
Yeah, probably he'll castle just because d4 might be a good reply to f5, and then black can keep the pawns intact, connected in the center. But Wei Yi, he's a big favorite now, surely, to win, Anna.
He is, and this is a full exchange up. If I'm counting the pawns correctly, there is not a single pawn that black has as compensation. So this is a rook fighting against a bishop. Black does have the pair of bishops, but everything is still so closed up and so undeveloped. It's crazy that we are in this position with a lot of the pieces for both players undeveloped. That was a brutal attack on the king side, and it cashed out with this exchange winning tactical pattern. And then the queen sacrifice. How beautiful this is.
Yeah, that was very cool play from Wei Yi, and now he just has to back it up. It's a different phase of the game as he tries to convert his material advantage. Let's go out to the bird's eye view because stuff has been happening elsewhere, and it's not good news for Sam Shankland, who looks like he might be in a spot of bother. That's on the bottom row. The other game, much more positional. Martinez against Sindarov. It started with b3. It's become kind of one of those typical flank openings where both sides have a lot of squares. But let's jump into Sam Shankland against Esipenko. He still has a strong knight, but the white king that we were talking about earlier, Anna, maybe not feeling so safe right now. Maybe it's got to hide in the near future.
Yeah, I felt a lot better about that king when the pawns were on f3 and g2. Sam has expanded further on the king side to attack, but there's consequences to each move, and his own king is now a lot more vulnerable than the black king. I'm worried that we're going to see, after the pawn push d4, that long diagonal fully has opened up for the black queen. We might see the rook coming down to the back rank with rook e1. So queen d5, rook e1 are moves that will be definitely on the mind of Esipenko here, and that's why he pushed the pawn, so that he can activate further his pieces.
Mm-hmm. And now the blue arrow appears. That means it's the only move to play king to h3. To move it forward. I guess then the white rook on the second rank can like swing behind and act as a bodyguard, but already it is looking a bit scary. He's going to put everything on light squares. That's the idea. King h3. The opponent has a dark squared bishop, so everything on the light squares. He's going to play that move. There we go. I don't think he's out of it, Sam. Like if he survives till the endgame, if he gets all the rooks off, then he might be better with the queen and knight combo, but for now it does look scary.
Very scary indeed. And king h3 is on the board, the only way to keep the game going, because you're gonna need that white rook on the second rank to be able to block the check that will be incoming after rook e1. So if we play rook e1 as black, there might be a trade on e1 threatening the h1 square, but thanks to this c2 rook, that's not a checkmate pattern. You will always be able to block on h2 with the rook. That's why the king needs to be on h3 and not on h2.
Yeah, very clever. And there are some tactics in the air. The rook does come down to e1. I was going to say if black took a free pawn, I see free pawns anytime I look at a chessboard. Queen takes a2 would have been met very strongly by pawn to b4, attacking the black bishop and discovering an attack against the queen as well. So for those of you wondering at home, there was not a free pawn on offer. Esipenko has bigger things in mind. He wants checkmate. But for now, it's all covered for Sam.
Covered thanks to that rook, but that also means that white's pieces are tied down to this defense. You can't really go for any counter play or any counter attack. You need to be guarding the second rank. You need to be blocking the d pawn because that's a passed pawn. And if that pawn starts moving, then the bishop of black will also become a lot more active. So it's a lot of those squares that need to be guarded and protected by white's pieces, meaning that how does white continue? What useful moves can you make for white here?
Oh, that's a very good question. I would probably want to save my pawn on a2 at some point, either with b3 or a3, but I would also be scared, like you said, that the white queen's going to get kicked away at some point. He plays a3. Maybe that's the better of the two. At least he's hinting that he might play b4. Esipenko might take a timeout to stop that with a move like a5, but yeah, the white queen, she can never ever move while that black pawn is ready to advance. It's just tough to find waiting moves. It's just about whether Esipenko can improve his pieces.
Yeah, now that you're telling me about a5, I was just wondering, is white in time to try to sacrifice the b pawn for the d pawn before things get even worse? Is there a chance for Sam to try to force the issue here with the pawn?
Mm-hmm. I think you're right, Anna. I think he might have to. Like, if black gets one more move and plays like pawn to a4, then white is totally paralyzed for the rest of the game. Like the white queen and rook just cannot move off the second or third ranks. Maybe the white knight can come back round, but I don't. As soon as the white knight moves, there's rook e3. Like it feels like you have to break out with b4 before it's too late. Whether it works or not, I think he has to play it. Sam, best practical chance. Under 5 minutes now.
Under 5 minutes and under serious pressure on the board. The more I'm looking at it, the more I agree with all the analysis you have said, David, that it's now or never. If he doesn't push b4, it's going to be prevented by black pushing a4. And he did not. Oh, he did. Oh, okay. He scared me with that move on the camera. I was like, wait, is he reaching for something else?
Oh, good move, Sam Shankland. He's the type of player who will seize the moment as well. He doesn't like to wait around too much, Sam. He's not so fussed with all the maneuvering that needs to be done sometimes in positions. He's very direct. So, yeah, good move, good choice. And now Andrei Esipenko, he'll probably take that pawn once at least. But then he has to decide whether to take it with his bishop. It is a bit scary taking after capture with the pawn and allowing rook to c8. Like bishop takes b4, rook c8 check. The black bishop can drop back and block, but maybe he could flick in a rook check himself if he wants to trade off the rooks before grabbing on b4.
That might be a really good practical decision to not allow the attack of white. This is now looking like Sam has found a very forcing line that gets him out of the woods, because the position of white was starting to look very troublesome. But after b4, if he wins the d4 pawn and the position simplifies, we could be heading toward a draw.
Yeah, maybe the worst has passed for Sam Shankland. Yeah, I think maybe we come back here because he's found the way, the only way to find simplifications, counterplay. Just a quick update. The Jose Martinez game is so blocked. And it's all about, I guess, maneuvers, maybe a pawn break on the queen side at some point. Maybe black's bishop needs to get in. The other game hasn't had so many moves, but Arjun is trying to at least stabilize against Wei Yi down the rook for bishop. Where would you like to go next?
We could visit the game of Josh Spam against Sindarov, Jose Martinez against Sindarov for a moment, and then head over to Arjun Wei immediately, I think, just to assess the situation. I just wanted to also give a shout out to Harry the H-Pawn again for being the protagonist of the round, because now that Josh Spam also played H4, we finally can conclude that that's the key move of the round. Everyone has played H4 today.
Yeah, we got the full house Everyone's played h4. Everyone's moved their h pawns. The other two black players, they played h6. And yeah, this position, I would say I probably slightly prefer white, just because the knight on d5 looks like it has good kind of staying power. It's going to be here for the rest of the game. But then again, if the black bishop ever gets in, maybe some counterplay. Maybe it's white, though, who's going to break forward with a5 at some point. And okay, he does that now. Jose Martinez, a bit of a time advantage as well.
Pressure on the clock and pressure now on the queen side with a5. I do love that knight on d5. I agree with you that that's a monster of a piece, even if black has the pair of bishops, but everything is so blocked in the center that the g7 bishop doesn't have any active diagonal. a5, now black needs to react to the pressure on the b6 pawn. Feels like he has to take on a5.
Mm-hmm. Looks like he has taken on a5, judging from the camera. And Jose Martinez will decide whether to trade off rooks first or whether to start pushing his own pawn. There we go. The white c-pawn has a lot of potential, but I don't know whether you rush to push it yet. It's quite committal. If you push it, it won't be defended anymore. Or does Martinez just trade off the rooks, give up the f-file? Oh, I would be a bit hesitant to allow black to control the f-file, but he needs to win back a5 at some point.
David, I looked at the computer line for this to see how crazy things can get. And according to the computer, if there's a trade on the f-file and then you take on a5 as white, black sometimes has a g5 pawn sacrifice that could be a little bit unpleasant. Not that it's winning, but there's some questions being posed on the king's side.
Ooh, let's jump in and show that if we can, because Jose Martinez, he's wanting to play the most natural continuation, but maybe there are downsides. Oh, he just moves his queen across. Just to show your idea there, Anna, this is super cool. Rook
I
takes rook.
can't claim any credit. The computer is like, hey, yeah, take the pawn on a5. I'm going to try to checkmate your king.
Yeah, I mean, okay, whoever's idea it is, it's really cool. Queen to d8, I guess, is the idea. Hitting the rook, taking this pawn, like your rook takes a7. Black takes
yes, you win the pawn
7.
back. So it's a temporary pawn sacrifice, but once the h4 pawn is gone, you're also threatening h4, so things could heat up a lot on the king's side.
Yeah, this is super scary. Super scary for the white king.
The emote game is top-notch, David. That was beautiful.
Thank you. But the white queen, that's the problem piece, right? Like the white queen's just so far away from any action. So I totally understand, going back to the game, why he's played queen to a3. He doesn't want to give up the f-file. He wants to maybe get the queen back into the game, either via e7 or just by taking this pawn. Makes sense. Jose Martinez, he's so good in these situations. He very rarely gets like attacked directly because his sense of danger is so good in blitz chess and quick chess and chess in general. Bishop h3 now, best move.
Exactly. So queen a3, a lot safer and not allowing those pawn sacrifices and any danger against his king. Bishop to e2 wants to force the trade on the f-file so that black would gain the f-file. Blue arrow appears saying that bishop h3 is the best and only move that is the best here.
Mm-hmm. Looks like the best move by a distance. And wow, Anna, I've peeked in to the future and bishop h3 is played. Guess what black's best move is here, according to the computer?
Tell me about it.
Queen.
Is that some queen sacrifice?
Queen takes h3 is very possible. Giving up the queen and then taking the rook and going for an attack against the white king. I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh, gosh.
It's so hard to evaluate. Could we see a queen sacrifice from Sindarov? I think the most natural move in the position is to retreat the bishop and block. And we could see a repetition there, the dance of the bishops.
Yeah. He's got 2.5 minutes to decide whether he wants to sacrifice a queen in the tiebreaks of a quarterfinal of the World Cup. Like, that's crazy.
No chance. I don't think any human in their right mind plays queen takes h3 unless they've got nothing to lose. Definitely not, as you say, in the World Cup quarterfinal, the biggest game of your career. You don't even consider queen takes h3. And okay, he drops his queen back, and it's not the worst move in the world. It defends his rook and everything, but apparently now advantage is on white side. Jose Martinez turning it on again.
Yeah, and the computer criticizes queen e8 because it allows a knight maneuver, knight c7, and the knight jumping toward e6 to attack black's pieces.
Mm-hmm. That's quite a natural idea, actually. Oh, the knight's good on d5, but it can become even better. Knight c7. What do you think? Will he find that move?
I think Jose is more than capable of finding it. Yes, the rook on f1 is hanging, but if you counterattack by attacking the black queen, and maybe after knight c7, queen moves, then you take the rook first on f8, and after that you jump to e6. It is more human than what it seems. You are right. It's not impossible to find that combination. I think he's looking at it. I think that's what he's analyzing.
Yeah, it looks very likely. And in the meantime, let's jump to another game because stuff is happening everywhere. Of course, we're at that stage of the games right now. And Wei Yi against Arjun Erigaisi, it looks like he's done a great job of pressing his advantage. Anna, it's still the exchange up. And just as I say that, commentator's curse, maybe? Nope, the bar drops. I was going to say he's the exchange up. He's weakened Black's pawns. It looks like he's simplifying everything. But this was a bad move. The knight now misplaced after the Black King just defends everything.
Yeah, it's slightly misplaced. Apparently, instead of moving the knight, he could have played b4 immediately. b4 still seems to be really strong, and white has an extra exchange. So it's a rook against a bishop, but Arjun still with some fighting chances. And the time factor, David, Wei is down to his final minute and 10 seconds. Is he gonna push b4? That's the first question here. Will he find it, or will he go for something else?
I think he'll find it. Like the blue arrow shows it's the only way to keep the advantage, which is crazy. But I think process of elimination, like the white rooks don't really have any logical moves. The f rook's tied down to defending f4. The white knight is trapped. The white bishop can't really move right now. I think he's got to find it. I think maybe the only other logical move is to take on d3, which he might be tempted by. But
he's reaching for the b pawn, then double checking, triple checking. This is the tiebreaks. Then he ends up taking on d3. He wanted to push the b pawn first.
He wanted to, yeah, but there we go. It's an exchange, and Arjun Erigaisi should have taken a different way. Perhaps taking with a knight there was the better way forward. He could also have played rook to d4 type of ideas, not to allow the rook trade. And now Wei Yi back to being better. We can't blame the players. Oh, wow. 20 seconds, though, for Wei Yi. Arjun is trying to hustle on the clock. I think it's a good strategy in practical terms. That's why he maybe isn't playing the most accurate moves. But this is a check. And Anna, he's going to get one pawn, at least, for his troubles.
He's getting one pawn, and this does give him a passed pawn on f5. The bishop comes back to f3 to offer a trade. But Black is not obliged to take it. We might see the bishop retreating, or is that too passive if you want to keep the pair of bishops?
Mm-hmm. I quite like that move. I think Arjun's tempted. There we go. Good idea. And as you say, like material down, you need everything you can get. Why not get an extra pawn, keep the pair of bishops? And I think this is going to be very hard for Wei Yi to convert. He needs the knights off the board probably in the near future. So maybe knight h2, knight h5 or knight e2. But yeah, still a lot of work to be done to win this game.
It feels like his advantage is slipping out of his hands. It was a lot clearer before, but oh boy, of course, with the nerves, the stress, the tension of the tiebreaks of the World Cup, where any single mistake can knock you out of the tournament, it's so much easier for us to be commentating and just watching the game. Lots of pressure on the players. And now after bishop g3, Black is threatening to pick up a second pawn.
Wow, this is not going to be easy. And in the meantime, let's go out to the bird's eye view where it looks like Jose Martinez is doing the business. It looks like he's got a decisive advantage, double attack. He's hitting Black's bishop on e2, and he's threatening knight to d8 on the top of the board. Wow.
He did find that knight maneuver. That's how the knight ended up on e6 with knight c7 earlier. Very accurate play by Jose Martinez. And it looks like rook to f7 a move ago by Sindarov was a blunder, not realizing that rook a2 will win material. Beautiful tactical pattern. I'm speechless because this game has just blown up. It was the most solid a couple of moves ago, and now it's winning for the Mexican Grandmaster.
Yeah, Incredible. Knight to d8. It's these tricky knight moves always on the back rank that trick people. And rook to f2 check, I guess he was relying upon. But the white king just moves. King to g1. And it looks totally winning now. Jose Martinez, yeah, it's just incredible. He always has a 2-minute buffer as well. He's always ahead of his opponents on time. Desperation on Sindarov as he goes down to 20 seconds. He drops his bishop back. That is designed to stop knight d8 ideas, but that also might just be a free bishop. Can he take it? Knight takes bishop right now?
Yeah, what's wrong with taking the bishop?
I guess he wants to swing his queen across to f6, maybe after a check on f2. Oh, still looks very good. He's doing the business. Can he finish it off, Jose Martinez?
He's certainly considering whether to just capture the bishop or play something even better. When you see a good move, look for a better one. So he takes on a5. Everything is still hanging. The bishop bonito is hanging. White is threatening knight d8, knight fork. Black is about to lose a lot of material. And on top of everything, the e5 pawn is hanging too, and your king is in trouble.
There we go. Big trouble now for Sindarov. He takes the pawn. Knight to d8. There we go. Fork town. And e5 is dropping after this. Queen takes e5 would be... Wait, is queen takes e5 a cool move here?
Ooh. Will we see a queen sacrifice?
Wow, queen takes pawn on e5. Take it. That's a famous forking pattern that's happened in some historic games over time. Normally it's queen h8. You walk into these type of things, but queen takes e5. The black rook can't move, Anna.
It cannot. You cannot do anything about that tactical pattern, even if you are given a chance to move the rook. There's no square for it. Jospem takes on f7 first. Also, of course, a winning move. Keeps the queens on the board now with queen takes e5 check.
Mm-hmm. But now, even just moving the queen out the way looks good. But also, you can maybe give a check and take on a7. He's so close. He must know it. He's still got time in the bank as well.
More time and open exchange. I do like your idea with the back rank check and then pick up the a7 pawn as well to get the rook into the game. But there's just so much going on also on the other boards. Esipenko, goodness me, we need to switch to that game right now because Sam Shankland is also in trouble, it seems.
Wow. This game, he survived the checkmating ideas, Sam Shankland with his king, but he's still in big trouble. That B pawn is really scary, Anna. Given a miss by Andrei Esipenko, White's queen now surely has to dive across and block before the pawn advances, but scary times for Sam.
Very scary and very little time as well. Only 32 seconds left for the American Grandmaster. How will he stop that B pawn? It's material equality, but it feels like an extra pawn because White's pawns are doubled. Black has a very strong pass pawn. Is Sam going to be able to stop it somehow? Will he block? Will he jump to d5 or c4 with the knight? He chooses knight to c4. Seems to be a mistake.
Wow, he's allowed the black queen in behind. Queen g1 looks scary. Even just queen back to b7, threatening checkmate on h1. And then the pawn pushes. Esipenko, golden opportunity. What's he going to do with his queen? He pins the white knight instead. Very logical.
Oof. I would not want to be the player here with the pinned knight and this pawn, the pass pawn, queen to b3, steps out of the pin. But that allows the black queen to take over the long diagonal and pin through the d5 square.
Oh, checkmate in one
Queen
threat.
h1 checkmate. King h2. No checkmate at the moment, but so much pressure on white. How do you hold everything?
Maybe you don't. I think he just can barely move. Sam Shankland. I'm expecting the black bishop to come out. There we go. He reaches for it. Improves his bishop. The queen and bishop combo just looking so strong now. Just kind of staring towards the king. Not quite threatening anything yet. But Anna, maybe queen to d4 followed by queen to g1 is the immediate idea.
I love that idea. The queen comes back to the second rank to try to defend, and also white has to keep making moves, and it's really hard to keep making moves in such a position where everything is tied down. Will we see queen d4? I do like that idea, David, the queen bishop battery.
Yeah, I think it's the most natural idea. What will he play? Andrei Esipenko, he's still got a bit of time, 30 seconds. How to press this advantage, how to win it. Sam Shankland, he's been so impressive in the rapid games this far at the World Cup, but Andrei Esipenko, maybe equally, if not more impressive. And queen to g1, big threat, followed by queen to f1, and white's in a mating net.
Oof.
How does he prevent that? The b pawn is
Oh,
running.
goodness me. Yes, he has played your idea, and it feels like white has no defense. Sam plays knight to e5, but doesn't this just allow all that sequence and the b pawn running too?
Yeah. Give a check, or even pushing the b pawn works now. Pawn to b3.
Oh, to deflect the queen, the white queen from the defense. It would be checkmate in 2 if that pawn is taken, and he has played it. Pawn to b3. If you capture the pawn, it's checkmate with queen g1, queen h1.
Yeah, and even if white plays like queen b1, black can still go queen g1 check, swap off the queens, queen g1 check now, swap off those queens, and the b pawn runs. It's over.
Sacrifice the bishop. Trade everything. He has played it. Queen to g1, and Sam Shankland resigns. And we don't have time to analyze because there's so much going on. We need to swap to Jose Martinez's game as well. Goodness me, Esipenko wins the first game of the tiebreaks. Will Jose do the same against Sindarov?
Wow, he's so close now. The e-pawn is just running through here. Jose Martinez, he's doing it yet again. So powerful, his play. Queen can always swoop back to give a check. The black king is not surviving long. And okay, e-pawn running now. Maybe a queen e3 check first just to support it. Anna, it's another case of an unstoppable pawn, just like in the Esipenko game.
Indeed, the pass pawns are ruling the tiebreaks today, and Jose Martinez is just a few moves away from converting this game. There will be one more game, of course, in all of these matches. But oh boy, if you start by a win today, Sindarov resigns. This is it. The Mexican Grandmaster Jose Martinez takes the lead in the tiebreaks against Yavakir Sindarov. There will be one more game with colors reversed, but both Esipenko and Jose Martinez are now leading and are one step closer to the semifinals. Can Wei Yi still win this endgame, or has Arjun equalized already, David? What do we have on the board?
Wow, this has been a crazy one. Wei Yi totally lost control. Arjun has fought heroically, fought so hard. It should now be a draw, according to the eval bar. It even pops up with the letters TB saying table base. There's not enough pieces left here. This has been studied before by computers. I think this is an easy draw because he's created a barrier. The black bishop keeping an eye on the b4 pawn means the white king cannot move. But only white can really win, Anna. He needs a bit of help now, Wei Yi. But it's only him playing for the win. If Arjun defends correctly, it should now be equality. Should be a draw.
It should indeed. Now he needs to be careful, of course, not to go back to b7 with the king because of rook b6 check, picking up the bishop. He goes to d5 with the king instead. Very good defense by Arjun. Wei Yi, he played spectacularly the opening phase, the attack against the black king, winning an exchange, but now it is Arjun who has been defending like the true warrior that he is, and he might be saving the game. He is doing really well now in this endgame.
Yeah, and look at those bishops. They're just so strong. The white king cannot make any progress, cannot get towards the queen side. And the black king is going to help those bishops take the pawns. My prediction, Anna, is that we'll see white manage to win one of the bishops for the 2 pawns, and then it will just be rook versus bishop, which is quite an easy draw at this level. As we see a check, we'll probably see this play out now. White can already do that. Rook to c5 skewers the bishops, but black's dark square bishop will take the pawns with a draw.
I think that's what we are about to see indeed, David. The simplification of giving up one of the bishops but capturing the 2 remaining pawns of white. It will be quite a relief for Arjun to save this game, and a bit of a heartbreak for Wei Yi because he could have taken the lead with this game had he converted his advantage.
Yeah, for the first half of this tiebreak round, it looked like he would be the only one to win out of the group, or he was the only one with a big advantage. Suddenly, it was the other 2 players, Esipenko and Jose Martinez, who did the magic, and here we go. It's rook versus bishop now. The only question is how long he fights this one on. Anna, have you ever had to defend this endgame?
Luckily not. Have you, David? It's a draw. It's equal, but your opponent can play on forever if he wants to. Will Wei try for a long time? What do you think?
I think he'll try for a while. I've defended it in classical successfully, but I did once lose it in a 3+1 blitz game. Sorry, I just had no time to think, and there we go.
Where he takes the bishop and the handshake. Goodness me, this was only the first game of the tiebreaks of the quarterfinals, and we have seen so much action on all the boards. It was hard to even keep up with everything, but what we have is 3 spectacular matches where 2 of the players will be in a must-win situation now in game 2, while the match between Wei and Arjun Erigaisi is still a tie. Could go all the way down to Armageddon if they keep going like this, but we're gonna take a short break, and when we are back, we'll be here with this thrilling, tense situation where 3 players are close to the qualification to the candidates tournament if they make it through today to the semis. See you in just a moment. Welcome back to our coverage of the FIDE World Cup. This is the quarterfinals and the tie breaks. What a start we have witnessed, David, with the first rapid games. Please give us a breakdown in case people are still waking up and joining us. My brain is still waking up.
Mine too, don't worry, Anna. But the players, they are warmed up. They are feeling sharp, especially Jose Martinez and Andrei Esipenko, who won their first games of the tiebreaks. They're so close now. They're within touching distance, just a draw away from those semi-finals, from potentially a candidate spot. Arjun against Wei Yi, that was a topsy-turvy battle. Wei Yi with some great opening prep, winning advantage early on, but couldn't convert, couldn't get the job done. So Arjun will be looking to kind of capitalize on that momentum from the save that he just made. Let's see whether the players in must-win situations can bounce back now.
That's gonna be the biggest question of the day, because if they do not, both for Sam Shankland and for Javokir Sindarov, this could be their final game in the World Cup. This is how brutal this format is. If you don't manage to win here on demand, Sindarov and Sam Shankland, they are going home today.
Mm-hmm. And Sindarov, it's the first time he's lost a game in the World Cup. It's the first time he's been in this situation behind, needing to win. For Sam Shankland, it's not the first time. He managed to win with black on demand against Vidit earlier in the event, so at least he's in familiar territory. But yeah, it's just a one-game shootout for those two fighting for their lives. And we see an English opening from Javokir Sindarov. We see two E-pawn openings at Karakan on the bottom row there, and E4, E5 by Wei Yi. And in must-win situations, it's always tough to know what openings to go for, right?
Really difficult. And we do see Jose Martinez spending a bit longer on move two to figure out what setup he wants to go for against the English opening. So far, it's a symmetrical position, while on the other boards, the opening is developing more, especially the one between Arjun and Wei Yi, David.
Yeah, Arjun and Wei Yi, that's a Petrov, one of the modern main lines with lots of exchanges incoming. We'll see how Wei Yi deals with that one. Arjun so well prepared, of course. We see a symmetrical English on the top left. It is Javokir Sindarov who breaks out in the center, strikes first there. And on the bottom row, it's the Karakan Panov Botvinnik variation, where white often gets an isolated queen's pawn. But Esipenko, who only needs a draw, maybe he'll try and find a safer variation there. The most developed game so far is the Petrov. Maybe we jump in and start with that game before moving to the must-win situations.
I think that's a great pick, and to see who comes to this game better prepared. Will Arjun pull out some kind of a sacrifice, probably not yet, but surprise up his sleeve? He has been really well prepared in the World Cup, but today was the first day when it was Wei Yi, his opponent, that managed to surprise the Indian Super Grandmaster. How do you see the development of this so far, and how far are we into theory, David?
That's a very good question. This position is new to me. At least just the last few moves, with black playing a quick c5 and then queen takes d7. I've never seen this idea before, but it does look quite ambitious from Wei Yi. He's trying to equalize immediately. First, he has to fend off checkmate. It's funny. Wei Yi tried for queen h5, queen takes h7 checkmate in the previous game. Now it's Arjun's turn. He'll probably see that, Wei Yi, and g6. There is a trap for everyone at home. Queen takes d5 is poisoned pawn. Bishop takes h2 would have unleashed an attack against the white queen. So the white queen drops. And Anna, I think this is getting very sharp now. c4, probably the best move according to the computer.
Super sharp. Yeah, I've only found one game in the database for this after queen h5, g6. Nils Grandelius with the white pieces against Lenier Dominguez from 2023. And that game ended in a draw. So far they are repeating that with queen f3, c4. And after c4, Nils played bishop to h6. In that game, the rook stepped away and then bishop to e2. I wonder if we're going to see a repetition of that, or will they bring something new to the board?
Yeah, I think we have to see a repetition of that, because checkmate in 2 is threatened. Queen f6, queen g7. Wei Yi needs to get his rook out the way. The blue arrow shows it, just in order to challenge the bishops. And I'm surprised to see him slow down and think. Is he just recalling stuff?
Can we show the difference between rook to d8 and rook to e8 for instructive purposes on how not to get checkmated here as black?
Yeah, let's show it. Rook to d8. He was reaching for the rook, I think, there, where if he plays rook to e8, then there's big problems after rook takes rook, queen takes, and not the most natural move, queen to f6, because black can now defend, but queen takes d5, and the bishop is hanging. And the fact that the bishop was hanging is the reason rook to d8 is the best move and was played. And like you said, Anna, that key game, bishop to e2, happens, because queen f6 would have been met by bishop to f8, defending everything, covering all bases. So bishop to e2 is just a waiting move, and the game continues. Queen to f5, a challenge, and g4. Arjun still in prep. It's obvious.
It seems like they have both come to this game very well prepared in the Petrov, repeating the game of Grandelius against Lenier Dominguez. So far, everything is as they expected. In that game, though, I think after queen to f5, no, I was like, it was a different move. g4 was still played in the game we have seen in the database. So far, everything is going as it has been in chess history with the queen trade. And after the bishop development, a4, this is exactly how the other Grandmaster game went in 2023.
They say there's nothing new under the sun. Sometimes there is, but
it's so hard to bring something new to the game when this game has been around for quite a few years now, David. It's so difficult, isn't it, to be able to bring a surprise.
Exactly, especially with the kind of ease of information nowadays, how rapidly these ideas spread, all the magazines or the books or the video courses talking about openings. It's very hard to land something that your opponent might not have seen before. But often the idea is to just go deeper. That's what Arjun does. He uses ideas that are well known, but he just looks 5-6 moves deeper than most of his opponents. And clearly he's the one who's looked a bit deeper than Wei Yi here, judging by the clock. White probably has a tiny advantage here, Anna, I'm going to say, just because black's king is somewhat stuck. The white bishop on h6 is a bit annoying right now. If the dark squared bishops are ever traded, then white's king can centralize easily. Also, the black b pawn on an open file may be a target, and the black d pawn a bit backward, but small gains. This is probably totally fine for Wei Yi if he's accurate.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will let him think it through whether he will retreat with the bishop or choose something else. And the other two games where we have Javokir Sindarov in a must-win situation, Sam Shankland in a must-win situation. Let's check in with the openings on those boards as well, David. And what do we have? What's the situation like at the moment?
Yeah, on the top left board, we have a typical English opening where historically White's position has quite a good reputation, supposed to be slightly better for White. So Sindarov, that's probably good news. But we do have the push of the H-pawns that made you happy in the previous set of games, Anna. We also have
I'm always so happy to see H4. It's my favorite thing. And I don't play it. I'm not brave, but I like to see it when players are brave and push the H-pawn.
Yeah, and H-pawn push as well by Arjun Erigaisi in that endgame we just left. On the bottom row, Andrei Esipenko against Sam Shankland, we have this famous kind of reverse Tarrasch that arises from the Caro-Kann, but also is a direct transposition from the Grunfeld defense. It's very well-known stuff, and it feels like Sam Shankland's trying to get out of opening theory, but it's not going to be easy. I fear for Sam's chances. That has a very good reputation for the side with White, and maybe that's where we start, just because it's still well-known, and Andrei Esipenko has a dilemma now. He has a kind of split in the road. I believe g4 is actually quite a strong move, at least according to theory. But Anna, maybe it doesn't suit the situation. Only needing a draw, playing g4 would have been risky.
Yeah, g4, I agree with you. If you are one step closer to the candidates tournament and the semifinals, maybe you don't want to push your g-pawn. Maybe you go solid with knight d4, which is also a good move. There's still 2 games in the database for knight to d4 as well, and going for safe and solid, trying to push that bishop back, and you're welcoming the trade of pieces.
Yeah. Knight to d4 super solid. He'll bring his bishop out, maybe to f4, and try to trade it off on e5. Expecting bishop to d7. Maybe Sam is tempted to take on b3 first. I'm not sure what the difference is there. Normally you don't want to open up White's a file too soon. Just the white rook has some nice action. I remember Prague winning a really nice game with some sacrifices in this exact line. So Maybe Andre Esipenko's seen that game. Bishop to d7 though. Sam needs to keep pieces on the board. In must-win situations, that's kind of step one, the most important thing. Keep tension, keep pieces.
Yeah, I think that's what he'll do, but he is slowing down. He is a bit low, getting a bit lower on the clock. Still not a major difference, but this is a rapid game with 15 minutes starting time. He drops the bishop back. As you said, he needs to keep as many pieces on the board as possible. Will we see now a bishop move by Esipenko? You could develop the c1 bishop all the way to g5 or f4. What would be a setup you think here for white that's ideal, David?
Yeah, actually, now you said bishop g5, I'm quite attracted to that one, just because it's a bit annoying for the opponent, right? It's just the type of move that
you might be able to get in d6 at some point. I just love that pin.
Yeah, very strong. And it does kind of provoke black to make weaknesses like h6, the bishop retreats, g5. You probably don't want to play that as black. Sam might have to, but yeah, I think bishop g5 is a good way to start. Hard to imagine anything else. Bishop f4 is, yeah, totally fine as well, but more active. Andre Esipenko, bishop g5.
There's still one game in the database for bishop g5, so it's not even a new territory. I thought we would have already deviated, but no, bishop g5 has still appeared in chess history, at least in one game that I can find. Interesting. And black in that game continued with knight b to c4.
Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of sense. The consequence of the white bishop moving is that b2 is undefended, but also in general, a black knight wants to sit in front of isolated pawns. d6 is an outpost that the black knights probably want to use. Also stops that idea you mentioned, the big threat when white retreats, there we go, of playing d6. And okay, the eval bar drops a bit, saying that black is quite a lot better suddenly. That's really surprising to me. But probably it does start with your move, knight b to c4, the one you mentioned there, just to get back to d6. And it looks fine for Sam right now. Good start to the game for him if he plays this move, knight c4.
That is so surprising indeed that the evaluation bar dropped a good bit down, showing that black's position is not just okay, it's gonna be somewhat of an advantage because now the bishop on h4 is a bit out of the game. It looks like the computer wanted to retreat the bishop after h6 all the way to c1. That's ridiculous, David.
Wow, never gonna happen. If someone had played bishop g5, h6, bishop c1, we'd either have to get a metal detector out to check them, or we'd just have to say, okay, you don't really know how the pieces move. But rook c8 played. Oh, he's allowing...
Which also gets a question mark. This position is very complex, and it's two human beings playing under so much pressure. This is the tiebreaks of the quarterfinals, and one of these players will go home today. We will see a lot more mistakes than usual. Why is rook c8 a mistake, though? It looks natural.
But he's allowing that move.
It just allows d6, right? That's it, because the knight from c4 would have prevented d6. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, and like sometimes I do say, okay, cut them some slack, they're humans, but d6 is such an obvious kind of next move for white. Not only that, but in a must-win situation, like probably black has to play g5 there to break the pin, but it makes the pawn structure symmetrical. I don't know, in a must-win situation, you normally want to keep imbalances. A knight on c4 was good for multiple reasons. I think Sam maybe will regret that decision. Wow, d6 now. I think Esipenko should go for it.
Yeah, David, I'm looking at some crazy lines by the computer. Oh, goodness me. After d6, it looks like hell lets loose because the bishop diagonal is open, and sometimes there are sacrifices with bishop takes f7 as well. So both of white's bishops are suddenly really active. And the line could be, for instance, d6, g5 to stop that diagonal, block the bishop, chase it away. But white could just go bishop takes f7 according to the computer. And after king takes f7, you give a check on h5 with the queen, king drops back to g8, and then you sacrifice your other bishop too on g5. So yeah, good luck. Good luck finding these lines for both of these players. Like, what is going on here?
What is the idea? Like knight e4?
Yeah, knight e4 after giving up two bishops, and your knight on d4 is also hanging, just to add to the list of hanging pieces.
You can be 3 pieces down but have a totally winning attack. And it's the theme of the day so far. Queen h5, queen h7. It's happened in both the Wei against Arjun games, but it could also happen here. If Esipenko plays like this and goes on to win or draw, like, he deserves to go through, I think. Like, sacrificing 2 pieces, the courage of it in the biggest game of his career. That would be incredible. Probably there's a draw by perpetual. That's why the computer says 0.0, but that suits him. And he doesn't play it, Andre. He plays queen d3, and now knight c4 has to be played by Sam. Has to stop d6.
Yeah, I think the double bishop sacrifice was really crazy to see and to want to go for, but d6 was a natural move. You don't have to go for the bishop sacrifice. You could have still pushed d6, open up the diagonal of the bishop, trade that pawn for the e7 pawn, as you said, symmetrical pawn structure. So it's interesting that he doesn't even push the pawn. That looked very human.
Mm-hmm. Looked very human and quite safe if he just decided to kind of go symmetrical and then just drop his bishop back to g3. That looks fine as well.
Let's go back to the bird's eye view for a moment, because there's so much at stake, and in all 3 matches the games could be decided and the matches could be decided with just one single mistake. We see the evaluation bar in some of the cases showing a bit of advantage for white, as this for Sindarov, bit of advantage for black, as in the game of Arjun against Wei Yi. And we've just been analyzing the game between Esipenko and Shankland. How do you see the other 2 matches, David?
Ooh, very interesting. According to the bar, Wei Yi is now slightly better against Arjun. I don't know why Arjun's recruited his bishops on the top right board there. Looks very passive from white suddenly. But I think we should go to Sindarov against Jose Martinez, because Jose has just pressed the chaos button. We love a bit of chaos in rapid games especially. He's just played g5, exclamation mark. That was the only move the blue arrow showed to compensate for the fact that black's a pawn down. He's going for the white king now.
So black is a pawn down and then sacrifice a second pawn, g5, exclamation mark. That pawn can be taken both by the queen and the pawn. David, let's show the idea why g5 is so strong.
Yeah, g5, let's break it down. Essentially, he's saying there's not many defenders around the white king, just the bishop for now. And if pawn takes pawn, then he's going to try and break through with h4. He's going to open up the h-file. This is more long-term, the attack, I guess. But queen takes, I feel, probably would end the match on the spot, because after bishop to h6, maybe there's something even better here. I'm looking at rook takes c2 ideas, but bishop h6, queen takes, there's knight to f6, and the queen is trapped.
Beautiful. Beautiful to trap the queen in a way that it looks like the queen is active, but it has nowhere to go. Wow.
Wow.
So you cannot take on g5 with the queen, have to take with the pawn, but that allows pawn to h4, and that's our game indeed. Jose Martinez only needs a draw to qualify to the semifinals, and yet he goes, sacrifices 2 pawns, and wants to kill the king on the king side.
Wow, and now knight to g6 is shown, so not even taking the pawn back. I think I would take that pawn automatically, just in a heartbeat. There we go. He actually does take it back instead of the better move, knight to g6. Advantage now for Sindarov, but it's one of those positions, Anna, just, it's crazy. Knight to b4, now the blue arrow. This is just irrational chess. This is like who makes the last mistake will kind of end up losing. It's impossible to play perfectly here.
It's really difficult to play perfectly, and I just love the attitude of Jospem going for it even when all he needs is a draw. It's his style. He cannot help it. He loves chess. He wants to go for whatever the position is asking from him. He doesn't mind that it is risky, it's dangerous, it's double-edged. And now white with 2 pawns up has to play really precisely to not get checkmated.
Exactly. It's terrifying for Sindarov, but he knows it's at least a position where he has something to hold on to. He's still up 1 pawn. If he doesn't get mated, he probably wins. He finds the best move, knight to b4. That's aiming towards the d5 square. And if Jose Martinez closes off access to that square with a move like e6, then black's position gets a bit weaker, and black's light square bishop gets a bit stuck. He's also just going to put his rooks on c1, and he's just going to say, okay, there's no real attack for you. It's just an illusion. And he's going to try and trade everything off and eventually queen his a-pawn.
Yes, really strong move by Sindarov with all the ideas that you have mentioned, David. Now it is the question for Jose Martinez on how to proceed and what to do about all of those ideas that are very natural for white. And you cannot allow the simplification of the positions when you have given up 2 pawns for your attack.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But how to proceed, how to actually mate the white king. He does play e6. Jose Martinez, he felt he had to. Understandable, but the most natural move given a question mark. And if white just plays rook c1, what's black actually doing? He needs the queen in the attack somehow, but she's on the wrong side of the board.
She is indeed on the wrong side. How do you maneuver the queen toward the king's side? If rook c1, which seems very natural, what can black do? You cannot really prevent the trade of the rooks, but you might use that time to maneuver your pieces. Can we see some kind of a regrouping of the minor pieces of black with knight g6 to get the bishop into the game as well and heading toward f4 at some point?
Mm-hmm. I like that one. Knight g6, bishop e5, maybe into h2 or f4. Maybe the way the black queen gets in is like d5 and queen to d6 and to try and infiltrate on the diagonal into h2. If the black queen could somehow end up on the h file, I think black's attack is decisive, but Sindarov now slowing down and thinking maybe a4 is another just candidate move just to try and race the pawn forward. He needs 5 moves to get to the other side. Probably he doesn't get that luxury, but he might try. He might start the race.
Yeah, not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. I think I would predict rook to c1 here to start at least trading some of the pieces. But definitely decision time for Sindarov, whose king is under attack. He's up 2 pawns, but he's in a must-win situation against Jose Martinez. And oh boy, if we go back to the bird's eye view, there's just so much action going on and the evaluation bar going up and down in every single moment. It feels like there is so much pressure on the players. This could be your last day at the World Cup. Half of the field will be gone after today's tie breaks, and both Sam Shankland and Javokir Sindarov are in a must-win situation, while for now it is a tie between Wei Yi and Arjun Erigaisi. David, how do you see the other 2 boards and what has happened since we last looked at those games?
Yeah, there's some small developments in Wei Yi against Arjun. It's not good news for home fans. The last Indian player standing, Arjun, maybe getting a bit outplayed, but nothing too drastic yet. For now, though, it's Sam Shankland who's doing the business. The eval bar massively on his side. We were there just a couple of moves ago, but he's found the right ways to use his pieces. He's chosen the right knight. Earlier I was highlighting the other knight, but actually Sam chose better. He's keeping the black knight on a5 just to take the white bishop at the right moment. The black queen's come out. Anna, it feels like momentum definitely on black side. White is kind of poorly coordinated here. Some loose pieces. The knight on d4 a bit awkward. The rook on b1, maybe a target later. This looks fantastic now for black.
It does look fantastic, and that will be something that bites back, that Esipenko didn't push the d pawn when he had the chance. He had one moment in the game where it could have been the right decision, even if he didn't see the double bishop sacrifice crazy line that we were analyzing. But just to push that pawn when he had the chance to open up the bishop's diagonal, trade it for d7 pawn. Now that pawn is a problem that it's on the board. The d6 square is protected by black's pieces, and the isolated pawn of white is just blocking all of your pieces. You wish that pawn was not on the board. Maybe you would even give it up if you could. Just be down a pawn, but at least have more activity for your pieces.
Yeah, 100% agree. Like, white's pieces just feel clumsy. The rook on e1 is now blocked. The knights just kind of getting in each other's way, really loose. And okay, Sam plays the safety first move. He drops his knight back to d6 to block the pawn, but that's a good positional idea. And maybe knight to f5 is a bit of a threat right now, hitting 2 white pieces. If a black bishop ends up on f5, the rook on b1 is going to drop off the board. This looks great for Sam. I'm expecting Andrei Esipenko to centralize his rook now, to at least try and coordinate. But yeah, he's done everything right, Sam. It's just about whether he can strike back in the match, keep it alive.
It is absolutely incredible to see how Sam Shankland might be doing it yet again, winning on demand with the black pieces. Of course, this position is still not decisive advantage, but the fact that he has managed to get into a situation where he's the one pushing, and he has done it against Vidit already. He is in a must-win situation again, and Esipenko is in trouble when it comes to the position and also the time situation. He's getting lower on the clock, below 5 minutes already.
Oh, Andrei Esipenko's had such good results, especially with white in this tournament. It would be ironic if he wins with black and then ends up losing with white, and the fight would continue. But yeah, there's no direct kind of action happening here. Maybe we go back to the bird's eye view again just for a moment to update ourselves to see whether anything major has happened. Sindarov still a bit better against Jose Martinez, but pure chaos on that board. Maybe just a very quick check-in with the endgame. It looks like Wei Yi with a big advantage suddenly. Anna, could we see Arjun get ground down in this Petrov? The Petrov has been one of the openings of the tournament.
It has been, and it was Arjun who seemed to be happy with the outcome of the opening. Both players, to be fair, came very well prepared for this line, and they were repeating a game nearly till 20 moves plus. Very, very much a theoretical position, very well analyzed, but the one who is enjoying this endgame, I agree, David. It's Wei Yi with the black pieces here. Even though it's equal material, the pawn structure of black is a lot healthier. You see doubled pawns for white on the C file. You see the overextended pawns on the king side, which is now being attacked immediately with this bishop to D8 move. And how do you hold on to the pawns? If you move up with your king to protect it, that might bring the question, what happens with your back rank with rook e1, targeting the bishop and threatening checks or rook h1?
Yeah, this is terrifying. Like, white would normally want to meet this with a hit on the black rook, but now the rook can go to either square, rook h1, like you said, for example, threatening this bishop, but threatening this pawn with the bishop, and there's just no good way for white to defend. Just pinned all over the place. This looks like he might just have to lose a pawn, Arjun, in the near future. I don't really see it. Maybe he's going to block things up with, g5. But then the black bishop gets access to the f5 square. Oh, I remember an old interview where Magnus said the way to play against Arjun, block it up, make it super positional, make it all about squares and slow strategic kind of incremental gains. And it looks like Wei Yi's doing just that. There's no calculation for Arjun. There's no craziness for the madman.
There is no craziness indeed, and Wei Yi listening to the wisdom of the world number one Magnus Carlsen, honestly, not a bad wisdom to listen to. You know, if you want to listen to someone, maybe you listen to the guy that has beaten Arjun plenty of times too in his career. And Wei Yi here with the black pieces. This game, the match so far is a tie, but if Wei Yi wins with the black pieces, he will knock out the number 2 seed of the field, the only remaining Indian Grandmaster Arjun Erigaisi. That could be huge.
That will be so disappointing for Indian fans. And yes, they've got Gukesh as world champion. Yes, they'll probably have Prag in the candidates, but Arjun looked odds on to meet them there. The highest seed remaining. He does trade off some pawns, but now the black bishop gets access to the beautiful f5 square. And he's struggling here, Arjun. Bad pawn structure for white. No activity. He's groveling just to survive. Let's go to a game where someone's defending much more accurately, or much more actively, I should say. That is Javokir Sindarov against Jose Martinez. And look at this, Anna. There's queen, rook, everything lined up on the h-file, but is there a threat? That's the big question. There's a knight hanging in the center of the board.
Jospam has given up 2 pawns for this attack and now a piece as well. He's sacrificing that knight on e5 just so that he can go all in with the black pieces. The queen made it through. That queen used to be on b6 and it went all the way to the other side of the board. But there is no checkmate attack when it comes to the h1 square being protected by the g2 bishop. You can give a check on h2 and that's the big threat here. So how does white deal with it? Do you have to block that diagonal so that there's no bishop h2? Give up the rook, give up some material?
Yeah, that's the best move. He was reaching for his rook and he has played it. Rook to f4, brilliancy there. Bishop takes rook, the white pawn will recapture and black's attack runs out of steam. It's like you said, like maybe Jose Martinez sacrificing the knight just Maybe he underestimated how strong the white queen is defending the second rank. So this rook to h1 idea just doesn't work. White's queen will defend h2, no checks. Piece down. The a pawn is close to landing, almost a promotion now. Martinez, it looks like he'll have to fight yet again in the 10+10 portion. It could be his first loss of the whole event.
That is insane. Both of these players were unbeaten until today. Sindarov and Martinez. Jose Martinez winning today the first game of the Rapid, but he might be losing this one. And will we see any kind of further attempt here? He's trying to find some way in which he can keep the attack going. The computer is saying maybe the best for black is to just retreat the bishop and at least threaten e5, but the position should be lost for black. He plays bishop to b5, saying that if the bishop is taken, all right, that's fine. This knight on d4 was pinned and your b2 bishop is hanging. But even that looks terrible because of knight d6 check, knight fork.
Yeah, I agree. Like, he can call his bluff here, Sindarov. He can say to Jose, I'm just going to take it. That's a free bishop. No way, Jose, are you ever going to mate me? Just drop the knight into d6, rook to b1. It looks almost over. I think he's just pure bluff now. And there we go. Knight takes bishop. He was reaching for it. This might be the first comeback of the round. Not the only comeback, potentially. The nerves are playing such a big role today, Anna.
So much. You can see him reaching for the piece and then double, triple checking. There is just absolutely so much tension and pressure on this single game in a knockout format. This is the quarterfinals. One of these players will go home today and the other will be one step closer to the candidates tournament. Sindarov has found it, has played it, the best move, knight takes b5, and he's about to convert this into a full point and tie the score against Jose Martinez.
That is incredible. He's 2 pieces up. Sindarov, he's done everything right. It would take a blunder of epic proportions to allow Martinez back into this game now. He's going to give that check that you mentioned, knight to d6. No, he was reaching actually for the d pawn. Maybe he's going to go on an attack of his own now, Sindarov. He wants to mate the black king.
Honestly, also very promising. And why not give back some material if you have so much extra one?
Yeah, and the whole idea is that after e takes d5, after some knight checks, knight to d6, for example, the white queen will have easier access into d5 later in order to team up with its pieces and catch that king that still hasn't castled, hasn't done much this game. That black king still in the danger zone. This is just game over. Knight d6 is a monster threat that cannot really be parried. Jose Martinez.
And you can see it. You can see it on his face. Jose Martinez, Jospem. He knows that this game, unfortunately, has gone out of control. He played so brave. He sacrificed 1 pawn, 2 pawns for the attack when all he needed was a draw. He absolutely has gone for a very brave and confident decision, but it bites back. Sindarov has defended really accurately, and now he's the one that will be going for a checkmate attack against the Black King.
Yeah, he's played one of the most number of games in this tournament so far. This is his 24th game, if we count all the rapid blitz playoffs for Jose Martinez. Sindarov's only played 14, so 10 games less. But imagine, undefeated in 23 games, it'll be number 24 that he falls in. Wow.
What a streak for Jospem. And of course, anything can still happen in the next Rapid. There will be 2 more Rapid games between these 2 players now with even less time. We're going to go to the 10-minute portion. What a comeback by Sindarov. Huge fight here on this board. If we go back to the bird's eye view to check in with the other boards, in case we are missing something, what has happened when it comes to Sam Shankland with the black pieces in a must-win situation against Andrei Esipenko, and the so far very even, balanced match against Arjun against Wei Yi. David?
Yeah, I think Wei Yi maybe cashed in the advantage a bit too soon. He allowed a pawn trade, so Arjun now almost back to full equality. Still maybe Wei Yi with a small advantage, but Sam Shankland, let's go there. He has cashed in his advantage as well, but for a decent price. He's a pawn up, and he's trying to use the 2 bishops to get to White's king. The white bishop was actually almost trapped. Black was threatening to play pawn to f4 last move, so he's prevented that. Esipenko. And he still needs to be accurate because the white rook is getting hungry here and is about to take some pawns back, but he should have a huge advantage. Sam, I wouldn't be shocked if he plays a move like b5, just to try and play b4. Rook takes a7, impossible due to some bishop d4 check ideas with a double attack. Still should be winning.
I really like your move b5 and this tactical pattern with bishop d4, guarding the pawn on a7 in a very active way. And after b5, in the right moment, you can also push b4, and this b2 pawn is so vulnerable. If that pawn falls, who will stop Black's pass pawns on the queen side? It's really tough for Esipenko, who won the first game in the tiebreaks today against Sam Shankland. But Sam, now, again, in a must-win situation, he's doing it. He's doing it again. Winning on demand with the black pieces is not an easy feat.
Not easy at all. And he's doing it in the style that's brought him so much success. Sam is always really quick, really confident. He's got 5 minutes nearly against under 1 minute. He plays the move b5. White is just a pawn down and suffering against the powerful black bishops. He's got a lot of fans, Sam Shankland, out there. He's the last player over the age of 27 remaining in the tournament. He's doing it for the old guard. And
the old guard being 27 plus. Oh, I feel so old now, David.
He's in his 30s, just like us, Anna. Sam, super experienced grandmaster. He's trying to use that experience.
He's using it very well, pushing the b pawn. Esipenko captures the pawn on g5. I think we can expect Sam to take the pawn back on g5, renew the threat of f4.
Mm-hmm. Keep things simple, keep things safe, take back on g5. He's tempted by b4, but I don't see any need to burn 1 or 2 minutes on the clock thinking about that one. b4 will force the white knight away. Probably that's a decent move too, but taking on g5 just looks so sensible. I think Esipenko will meet that with a retreat of his bishop, blocking the bishop d4 check idea. That is the intention.
That is what we might see happening indeed. Interesting that Sam is considering seriously not taking back. He does have more time, so at least he's got the luxury of having more than 4 minutes. Esipenko down to his final 28 seconds.
Oof. Yeah, Sam often has been guilty of rushing. Fabiano talked about that recently at the US Championship. So it's nice to see Sam being professional, slowing down, pausing before making a big decision. He drives the white knight to the edge of the board and only then recaptures the pawn on g5. Very sensible. The white knight sidelined now. He's done nothing wrong. He's still winning.
It makes a lot of sense. It is inviting the knight to jump to c5 to attack the bishop on d3, but then the b2 pawn will be struggling later on. So Esipenko chooses bishop to f2, preventing that check on d4 and now threatening the pawn on a7 with both of his pieces.
Mm-hmm. The eval bar crashes, saying it's totally winning, more than winning now for black. But he still needs to find a way to get his pieces active. Whether he pushes the A pawn to save that.
Yeah,
that
and there's so much going on every board. I think Jospem is in serious trouble now. We might be seeing the end of this game, unfortunately, for Jose Martinez against Javokir Sindarov. Sindarov in a must-win situation, and I think he's doing it. Look at that attack with rook takes f5.
Oh, are we going to see a beautiful checkmate? The black king only has 2 squares, but wherever it goes, it can get checked again by a knight or by a rook. King g8 looks like it's forced mate in a couple of moves after knight e7. Jose Martinez, he's going to put his king on the dart square, but the white rook is coming up now. Wow, it looked like black was the one trying to give mate all game, Anna, but the sudden counterattack now by Sindarov, helped by the fact he's a few pieces up, or he was at least earlier. It looks like that's going to end this one.
It does feel like it's game over. Rook f7 check is a big one. Queen d4 check is another big check. Which one he will choose? There's unfortunately sometimes too many good-looking moves. Maybe all of them are winning. He's reaching for the rook.
Yeah, this is good. Now he'll reach for his queen probably. Or his knight. Wow, knight back. And this is going to be a beautiful checkmate to end the game. Only one legal move. King takes pawn. The other knight drops back. And a couple of moves away from being mated. Jose Martinez resigns. Javokir Sindarov strikes back.
He strikes back, and that will mean that we will get 2 more games at the least between these two grandmasters. They will be back in a few minutes to play it out in a 10-minute rapid game. What a fight this is, and we still have fight on the other 2 boards. The evaluation bar showing quite a lot of advantage for Sam Shankland, and the game between Arjun Erigaisi and Wei Yi seems to be level.
Yeah, it looks like Arjun's done a great job of equalizing, of holding that game. But Andrei Esipenko in deep, deep trouble against Sam Shankland. We see both boards here currently. And it's Andrei Esipenko under 5 seconds, who has to make a move, has to find a way to survive. He moves his knight forward. Made that with 4 seconds left, Anna. But it's a matter of time before the black rook gets active and into the game.
And maybe this is the time for that black rook to come in with the move you're suggesting, rook to d8 to threaten the pawn. Bishop to d6 was played instead by Sam, also very logical. It attacks the knight, puts pressure on the knight, guards the pawn so you can activate your rook and get it into the game. After knight e6, I think the rook will now make an appearance on the open c file.
Mm-hmm. That threatens nasty checkmates. Rook to c1 will win a piece. White's bishop will be lost. If that lands, there's no way for the white king to escape. He has to push the g-pawn or maybe move his bishop, but the might of the rooks and the bishops is just too strong. Bishop back to e1 played. Sam can win this
rook to
any way he wants.
c1. He will want to guard the bishop with the king. He has to go to f2 to not allow bishop to g3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, rook c1 looks super strong. g4, just keep it simple. Keep that pawn protected. Also looks good. White's rook is actually trapped, Anna. The white's rook cannot get back into the game at all.
That's such a sad story. We usually say the rook on the 2nd or 7th rank is a beast. That's why you want your rook. But that rook, you're right, is completely logged in black's camp. g4 was played by Sam. Excellent way of converting it. He might push it all the way to g3 to renew the threats on the back rank. This white king is still struggling even without queens on the board.
Yeah, that poor king is defenseless. Now we'll see some checks, most likely, from Sam Shankland. It's time to utilize that rook. It's just about not cashing in too early. He could even be really sadistic here and just start moving the black king forward into the center. White has no moves, no plan. This is over. Sam almost winning on demand. Seconds away, surely now.
It seems to be the case, and that's quite tough when you are down on material, down on the clock, and also you can barely move your pieces. But that's the story for Esipenko. Unfortunately, he won the previous game, and now Sam Shankland in a must-win situation. He seems to be doing it. He will tie the score if he wins this game, and then we're gonna get to see 2 more rapid games at the least. The match keeps going. None of them want to go home, and we do see the other game still underway, of course. Arjun with the white pieces against Wei Yi. The advantage for Wei Yi has increased massively, David.
Yeah, the last few moves, we did see a big blunder from Arjun just 2 moves ago. He actually gave up a pawn. Maybe he had to, but he had counterplay. He's allowed black now to just step across with his king, and the d-pawn might not be long for the world. Still some hard work for Wei Yi. He needs to find this move. I'll just very quickly recap the blunder. In this position, after pawn to b5, Arjun needed to first play rook to b2. Then after a6, now was the moment to push your pawn forward. And the key difference is that in this position, white's bishop gets behind and starts taking pawns. This would have given counterplay. He gave a check first. And this was a mistake because now in this position, after king to e6, if white goes pawn hunting with bishop to b7, black can give a check. And there's nowhere good for the white king to go. This is potentially a decisive moment. King to e6 played by Wei Yi. Rook to d2 will just be blocked by the black king. He's running out of counterplay now.
What a tense game, and this could be the final game of Arjun Erigaisi. If he goes down, that's it. He's gonna get knocked out of the World Cup, but the game is nowhere near over. The evaluation bar is still dancing. It's not easy to keep playing the best moves under so much pressure of the match situation, of the time. And oh boy, the blue arrow appears saying that bishop to f5 has to be found by Wei Yi to keep his advantage.
That's difficult, Anna. I think it's really difficult. The bishop just came from there. He'd have to repeat the position and then realize he needs to go back with his king after rook to d2. So he's basically got to admit he's made a bit of a mistake or found the wrong plan. That's the only way to stop the white rook going behind for the A pawn and creating some severe counterplay. Do you think he's going to play it? Bishop back to f5.
Oh gosh, it's hard. He's got a minute and a half left. And yes, this move starts with admitting that he had gone slightly wrong. He needs to go back to his original position and try a different approach. That's never easy when you need to admit that you had gone wrong and you need to retreat with your pieces. He might find it though, because if he doesn't, then this rook on the f file is going to be causing problems. You cannot just take on d6 because of rook f6 check, picking up the a6 pawn and creating an a pass pawn.
I think he has to find it. I think he should at least repeat the position and say, okay, I'll repeat once and then decide what to do. And that's how you find it. After bishop f5, rook d2, you look for options. He cannot go passive with the black rook either to stop white's rook coming in, because then the white king advances. He finds the first move, Wei Yi, but this is the key moment. He needs to retreat his king if he wants to keep his decisive advantage. Otherwise, Arjun's back. King into d7. That is the move to stop ideas of bishop b7 and a check from behind. Bishop b7 still met by rook h3 check. That's the key idea. But he's reaching for his rook.
Oh,
he doesn't find it. Where
not finding the king move that was the best to block the pawn. Retreating with the rook, it gives some chances again for Arjun.
Wow, rook to d5 now for Arjun. This is a weird endgame, I've got to say, Anna. Like, really unnatural moves. It's just turning out to be the best ones. This is difficult for both of them, especially with no time on the clock.
So difficult. We see mistakes and inaccurate moves back and forth because it's such a complicated endgame with no time on the clock. Bishop to c6. Now Arjun makes a mistake too, according to the computer, but who can blame them when everything is so messy and they have no time to think?
Yeah, and Wei Yi had to find that move, the only move to slow white down. White was going to just push the d-pawn and win. But now the problem is, if you move your king forward, this is the move Arjun wants to play, king f4, then black plays king to f6, and it's checkmate. g5 would mate the white king, so he has to drop his bishop back. But now his bishop is pinned, it's passive. Wei Yi's finally going to find the winning plan. Bishop to d3, now that the white rook is passive and cannot get in, and the d-pawn drops. Anna, he's 1 or 2 accurate moves away now, Wei Yi. He's going to be 2 pawns up. He's going to make it to the semi-finals.
What a match this has been. 2 of the highest rated players remaining in the field, and the number 2, Arjun Erigaisi of the World Cup, number 2 player, is about to be knocked out. He was the remaining favorite in the quarterfinals, but Wei Yi is about to eliminate the last Indian grandmaster from the field in Goa. Bishop to b7. Arjun is still trying. He wants to pick up the a6 pawn to create an a pass pawn, but unfortunately for him, black might just say, I'm gonna push b4. Can he do that now to create a c pass pawn?
He can, and maybe he should before it's too late, before whites get some counterplay here. He does it where he pushes his b pawn forward. He's almost promoting. He's ahead in the race. Arjun Erigaisi now needs a miracle. He just needs to take that pawn and pray. His rook is going to hold the fort, stop black's pawn from running forward. He'll have to sacrifice that rook most likely at some point, but can he hold on? Here we go. Pawn takes pawn, c3. Rook has to go back. Can Wei Yi find the winning plan? At least he's defended the a6 pawn now, even if he moves the black king. So I think this was a good decision from Wei Yi. Very practical.
Very practical, and he's still up a pawn with the monster pass pawn on c2 that is only stopped by this rook on c1. He brings the bishop back to f5. Very pragmatic play. Gives up the a6 pawn, but he is just getting ready for a rook lift, as you are highlighting with the arrows. Well, the rook makes it to b1. There is no further blocking of the pass pawn of black. How instructive this is.
That might be the clincher. That might be the end of Arjun Erigaisi's hopes to become world champion next year. Rook to b3, rook to b1, almost unstoppable. Bishop to e4, impossible because of a check. He tries to block the white bishop, but that's just a temporary measure. Rook to h4, wins the b4 pawn. I think this might be the last few moves of Arjun Erigaisi's World Cup dream, Anna. Wei Yi, wow, finding all the key moves at the right time. And he's going to do it.
And the check is on the board, as you highlighted. The rook will make it to the b file and to b1. What a heartbreak for Arjun Erigaisi, but incredible play by the Chinese Grandmaster Wei Yi, who is about to eliminate the number 2 seed of the field, Arjun Erigaisi.
Well, so close now. Wei Yi, he's done the hard work. Will he trade off those rooks? The a6 pawn is hanging, so he needs to calculate correctly. But even trading rooks and then making a run for it with the Black King, winning the A pawn. Black has 2 pawns to spare. He is going to trade off into a totally winning endgame. Black's bishop is the MVP, defending everything. Arjun's
An
king
absolute MVP. The king is now on b4, will pick up the a5 pawn and then come back to support the pass pawns. 2 extra pawns for Wei Yi after king takes a5 and a winning bishop endgame. This could be the final moment of Arjun Erigaisi's competition at the World Cup. This is so brutal, the knockout system. He's about to be eliminated.
He's never looked in danger, Arjun Erigaisi. This whole tournament, he's won so many matches in the Classical. He's won a playoff against Peter Leko, but he will be crashing out now. The first time he's ever really looked in trouble. The whole tournament will also happen to be his final game where he reaches for the white pawn. It's hopeless now. The Black King just needs to find a way over to the other side of the board. The G pawn will be supported forward. White only has 2 pieces. They cannot stop both pawns. It's the end for Arjun Erigaisi. Not much Wei Yi can do to go wrong here. Just centralize that king, bring the Black King over towards f4, push the G pawn, and it's enough.
And that's what he's about to do. He can also push a g5, start with the pawn push, and then bring the king over. The bishop comes back to the center. But as you highlighted, David, White cannot stop both passed pawns. You cannot find any way of creating a blockade. They are too far apart.
Yeah. Opposite color bishops, maybe sometimes you have a chance, but same color bishops, they just cancel each other out here. And now it's time for the Black King almost to start moving over. He first maximizes his pawn. Wei Yi, his pawn is so close to promotion now. And this is going to be heartbreaking for a billion people out there in India. And just all the chess fans, maybe hoping that it would be a Arjun versus Gukesh World Championship or Prag versus Gukesh. Maybe that dream's still alive. But for Arjun, so good, but not quite close enough in this game.
Not quite close enough, and as you highlighted, he has done so well at the World Cup. Arjun Erigaisi wasn't in trouble in any of his matches, was a smooth sailing all the way to the quarterfinals, but today he's about to be eliminated by Wei Yi, who's pushing his pawn, threatening to promote it. The bishop is being captured now. 1 remaining pawn for black, but that's enough. The Black King will go all the way over to the queen side and promote.
And here we go, hoping for stalemate, but no stalemate exists. The Black King goes back. We'll see Arjun play it out to checkmate, reluctant to give up his world championship dream. But Wei Yi, barring a miracle now, will be the one who progresses to the semi-finals. It's the last couple of moves of this game. The queen goes back, cutting off the white king. We'll see checkmate to end it. And there we go, the handshake. Arjun Erigaisi goes out, Wei Yi moves on.
What an incredible match this has been. Arjun had chances in the classical portion. Had he found the tactical pattern in yesterday's game, he will be definitely having a rough time after that, the missed chance. And today, in the tiebreaks, it was Wei Yi who was dominating in both games. Congratulations to the Chinese Grandmaster. And what a heartbreak for all the fans of Arjun Erigaisi. And of course, this is Goa, India, the World Cup. But the one remaining Grandmaster of India, Arjun Erigaisi, has just been knocked out. Oh boy, David, what we have just witnessed. And Shankland, he had to win on demand. He did it, by the way, while we were witnessing this brutal endgame between Arjun and Wei Yi.
Yeah, who would have thought it? The only match that was still balanced after the first tiebreak game ended up with a winner, Wei Yi going through, and the 2 matches that had someone in the lead. We saw Jose Martinez and Andrei Esipenko play so well in the first game, but they were both pegged back, and we go again. We're down to the 10-minute games next, Anna.
10-minute games indeed. The other 2 matches continue. We're going to take a very short break, but when we are back, there is still 2 more games to go. 10-minute rapid, as David already has mentioned. There's so much at stake. 2 players will go home today, and the other 2 will advance to the semifinals with a 75% mathematical chance to qualify to the candidates tournament. We know that unfortunately for Arjun, that dream is gone, but Wei is in the semifinals, and we will be back after a short break with the remaining 2 matches of the day.
I'm Levon Aronian. I'm a chess player, 42 years old, very good looking and very smart. Let's see what the questions are. What is Levon Aronian's peak rating? My peak rating was 2830. What happened was I was winning Vaikanze. Last round, my live rating was 2835. I already won the tournament by then. I think I was 2 points ahead of Magnus. And I was playing against Luke from Valley. Then I lost against him, and my rating that got registered was 2830. How old is Levon Aronian? Levon Aronian is 42 years old. I was born in 1982 in Armenia, but I don't feel 42. I feel much younger. What is Levon Aronian's IQ? I don't know actually. I've never did the test, and I'm scared to do the test because I never really went to school. So I think you need to know at least basic geometry or basic mathematics to do the test. What is Levon Aronian's favorite chess opening? Levon Aronian's favorite chess opening must be the Marshall. I played rarely, but it's the opening that definitely gave me a lot of joy and occasional sadness. Why did Levon Aronian leave Armenia? I think it was kind of a decision. I was being dragged into some politics and some things that I didn't want to do. And I was, okay, if I want to remain being a chess player, remain being a happy person I am, I need to move. And I moved to St. Louis. When did Levon start playing chess? My maternal grandpa was always obsessed with chess. He tried to teach me, but there was so much enthusiasm in his teaching that I never wanted to learn. And then I was visiting my paternal grandparents, and my sister Lilith, that is 6.5 years older than me, was being pestered by me. I was really driving her nuts because I was saying, no, you cannot leave me alone. You're going and playing with the kids. What am I supposed to do? So I was 8, turning 9. And yeah, she was 14.5. Turbulent times. A teenage girl, you know, wants to go and explore the world, explore the relationships. And she taught me to play chess. Say, oh, here you are. I think she understood the potential of the inner nerd that I had. And then I just didn't want to do anything else after that.
Can you handle it? Where grandmasters don't just move pieces, they cast spells.
Oh boy, didn't see that one coming.
Victory doesn't come easy.
Wait, queen time?
Oh shoot, I just lost the piece. Yeah, but I got no mana.
This isn't your classic chessboard.
The thing about the imposter is that if you swap it like...
It's not just a game, it's a battleground of minds.
Let's have some fun, you know? Let's have some fun.
When the greatest minds meet magic, anything can happen. On chess, cast that spell, play for free.
Welcome back to our coverage of the FIDE World Cup. This is Tiebreaks Day, and what a heartbreak it has been for all the fans of Arjun Erigaisi in India, in Goa. He is leaving the playing hall. He has just been eliminated by Wei Yi. David, describe what we have witnessed in that match and what he might be going through right now. What a tough moment.
Yeah, heartbreaking stuff. And there we see Arjun with his support network. Yeah, it's tough. It's been his dream to become world champion, and that will have to wait a little while longer. Also for Indian fans, home advantage. They started with 24 players. More than 10% of the whole field were Indian. And now they have no players left. That was the last man standing. And yeah, it's tough. Hopefully this will help Arjun bounce back. It was such a close match against Wei Yi. He'll look back on some missed opportunities there. But yeah, that is life. That is the brutal nature of knockout chess.
Really brutal indeed, and Arjun did have a good chance in the classical game yesterday, but did not manage to capitalize on it, unfortunately, for the Indian Grandmaster. That's the end of his dream at the World Cup and the end of his run toward those 3 tickets left for the candidates tournament. The players who are still in, though, Sam Shankland, he won in a must-win situation to bring it back in the match against Andrei Esipenko. We are now down to the 10-minute rapid games, and we also have the match of Jose Martinez against Javokir Sindarov. 2 of those players will go home today, and 2 will advance to the semifinals.
Yeah, it's the biggest games of their careers. We said it beforehand. For Arjun, it was the moment he thought he was so close, and to fall at that hurdle, heartbreaking. But whoever of these 2 players and in the other match ends up losing, they will feel devastated too. We see the Queen's Gambit declined in this game. A slightly different version to the one we saw in an earlier battle between them, where it was Esipenko to win with black. This time it's much more traditional stuff. Black is, after this pawn trade, aiming to play b5, c5, and equalize. Anna, it looks like Esipenko's come very well prepared, looks confident right now.
And he needs that. He needs that confidence because he has just lost a really important game. With a draw, he would have already been in the semifinals too. So to come back from that psychologically, that is already a big enough task. He seems to be up for that task though, and he is in full control of the opening against Sam Shankland. I would love to also check in with the opening of the other game if we switch to our board between Javokir Sindarov and Jose Martinez, the Mexican Grandmaster with the white pieces. He was in the same situation as Esipenko. He only needed a draw, but he could not hold the attack of Javokir Sindarov at the end of their game. Played really brave, sacrificed pawns, but it backfired at the end of the day. We see again the same structure, b3, e3 by Jose Martinez.
Yeah, he's definitely turned away from his normal 1e4. I don't know whether it's because Sindarov, he feels, has especially good openings. But Jose Martinez, he's played e4 his whole life. And suddenly to change on the biggest scene in the quarterfinals of the World Cup to this b3 stuff, very, very brave. Probably it's purely because it is rapid. He wants to keep tension. But we'll see. Black is playing a reverse London system. The bishop coming out to f5, h6. That bishop will hide back on h7. And we'll see a very, very tense game with all pieces on the board. That seems to be the story between these 2.
It seems to be the story, and I love it. It's always so complicated. There's always so much play in the game between these 2. It was the story in classical chess. It's being the same story now in rapid as well. And I do love the pawn structure. I like to have such a healthy pawn structure as black. Everything is well protected, and you do have more space in the center as of now.
Yeah, the triangle system or the solid system, this type of pawn structure is very, very pleasant to play with. Easy, quick moves for black. Black will just play bishop d6, get castled, and then decide on a plan, maybe a5, a4. Jose spent a bit of time on the clock early on. I do worry that he's not so familiar. At least last time when he started with 1b3, he got a double fianchetto system, and that one, he looked much more comfortable. This time, it's a bit more blocked. Maybe he'll play knight c3, bishop d3, and build for e4. But good opening for Sindarov.
Good opening indeed. And I think it's also looking like a good opening in the other game, Sam Shankland against Andrei Esipenko. So far, Esipenko has been gaining time, not spending time. And he is comfortable with this pawn structure fully symmetrical. Now the knight was chased away after the pawn push b4 goes back to d7. And we see queen b3 by Sam connecting the rooks.
Yeah, it looks like a healthy move. Bishop to b7, I'm expecting. It feels like Sam maybe is preparing a move like a4 just to try and blow open that side of the board. But if everything gets traded off, Anna, we might see a draw. Maybe that's the strategy. Just hold with white, win with black, since these two have both done the business with the black pieces so far.
It seems to be that black is doing better in this match. You are right, and that wouldn't be the first time it happens in the World Cup. Somehow the color doesn't matter that much. There's so much pressure, stress, tension because of the knockout format. It's almost as if it's easier to not have that pressure, that you are half a move ahead of your opponent with the white pieces. Too much pressure.
Exactly. Black is okay. White is in Zugzwang in the start position. Everyone knows that. So we'll see how the game unfolds.
Interesting development so far. Very, very solid. The rook does go to d1. Very logical to bring it to the central open file, pinning the d7 knight. The queen steps out of the pin immediately. Everything looks perfectly balanced. Slight difference is how the knights are placed in this middle game. Both rooks I'm expecting to come to d8 and c8, and the same for white. You might bring it to c1 or try to push a4, as David said, if white could find the right moment to do it. But it just feels like the b4 pawn is always an issue. It becomes really vulnerable.
Yeah, probably just no time now to play a4, as you mentioned. Sam doesn't look too excited. He looks very, very focused. And yeah, he's had I think in his own words, a tough and up and down couple of years. Ever since winning the US Championship, it's been hard to replicate that. But yeah, this feels like his big moment to shine. E4 played, that shows his confidence right now, Sam Shankland. That is an untouchable pawn. Black has two pieces attacking, only one defender, but more importantly, the knight on d7 would be hanging if that pawn is captured. So probably just ignored by Esipenko. But that's quite high risk. I would say, Anna, the e4 pawn could become a bit of a weakness later, and it's opened up the black queen on the diagonal.
I agree. It's making the position a lot more double-edged. And when black brings the rooks to the c and d files, then the pawn will start to be an issue once the knight on d7 is guarded. And that's what Esipenko is doing. He's immediately protecting the knight, threatening to capture the pawn on e4.
I'm surprised he used that rook. Sam mumbling to himself. We've seen that throughout the tournament. Sam motivating himself with these pep talks during the games. I wish we could get a microphone on the board to see what he's saying to himself, but it's been working, Anna. He's been doing so great.
Do you think the opponent can hear it, or it's just fully in his mind and we see his lips moving, but there is no sound coming out?
I haven't played him for a while, Sam. I think the last time we played in Classical was in 2019, but he was doing the same then, and I couldn't hear anything. I can confirm I didn't hear any words, but I did see him kind of mouth the word. It looked like he was mouthing the word Sam quite a lot. Like, come on, Sam.
Oh,
Sam.
So it literally is to that extent a pep talk, that he is talking to himself and just hyping him up for these crucial battles. I mean, it makes sense. You need something. You need to boost your confidence one way or the other when it is a knockout format and you're one step closer to the candidates tournament. Let's bring up our two-view scene here so we can keep an eye on both boards at the same time. This is the tiebreaks of the quarterfinals. 2 of our participants will advance to the semifinals and 2 will go home today.
Yeah, and the other board is very, very interesting. It's very tense. We see symmetry on the right flank, on the right board there, with the queens going back. It's unclear exactly how both sides should proceed, although Sam may be loosening himself up more than anything. Anna, in the other game, Jose Martinez against Javuka Sindarov, who do you prefer? Whose position?
I think optically, I would pick Black's position because I do love to have a knight in the center, but it's immediately being targeted by White's knight offering a trade, so it doesn't look like you can keep that hold. And in fact, we see a trade on g3 now. The light squared bishops are about to be traded. It seems to be very balanced.
Very balanced position, but there we go. Sindarov sets up the stone wall structure. And this is probably the best stone wall Dutch I've ever seen, because Black's light squared bishop has already been traded off. Normally there's a bishop on c8 and that's stuck, right, Anna? But here there's a beautiful kind of light squared control for the pawns, and the knight is coming into the center soon. Maybe the g
Yeah, I would always play the stone wall if this is how good it is, as you mentioned, without having a bishop stuck behind your pawn chain. So looking good for Javakir Sindarov. He is slightly lower on the clock, but his position is actually very solid and even somewhat better when it comes to the chances, the activity of the pieces. Jose is pushing c5, questioning where this bishop will go. Do you keep it on the current diagonal? I think it would make sense to keep it on the b8, h2 diagonal with bishop to c7.
Yeah, essentially, Jose, with his last move, he said, you have to mate me now, because if you don't, I will play maybe a4, but b5, I'll put a rook on b1, I'll move my bishop out the way, and I'm going to come down the queen side and start weakening your pawn, start pushing there. Normally I like the whole connect 4, Anna. I know I joke about that too much, but here I think I might
love
make the
the
exception.
Connect 4. Connect 4 is such a great game in chess too.
But here it does look like White's bishop is of the wrong color. Like it's blocked in by its own pawns, surely here.
Yeah, and that is the problem, that the bishop of Black is more active and the knight is now coming into the center. I would be a bit terrified here from White's perspective. If Black is able to launch an attack with g5 and somehow tear open the king side, there could be a big trouble for the White king.
Yeah, Jose is taking massive risks with White here. I don't know if it's just pure ambition or whether there's a little bit of tilt after losing the previous game where he just needed a draw. But it feels like an easy position, easy moves for Sindarov. Maybe less easy for Jose. He's going to move his bishop out the way next, but still very unclear how long it takes White to actually make progress on the queen side. For Black, I think it might be time. G5, H5, H4, G4. Just do something on that flank.
Yeah, and it's always with opposite side attacks. The attack that's against the king is, of course, always more crucial than a queen side attack here, where maybe a pawn will fall, maybe a pass pawn will be created. But if your king gets into trouble in the meantime on the king side, no matter how many pawns will be in trouble on the queen side. So Black's attack will be the more dangerous one for sure. It's only showing a slight advantage for Sindarov, but I think from the psychological perspective, it's a lot harder to be defending your king. And that's what Jose will have to do in this game. On the other board, we also see Black doing slightly better. So far, the storyline is Black is more than okay in these matches, and maybe it is Esipenko who will try. Look at those knight maneuvers heading toward some key squares like the c4 square in White's camp.
Yeah, it feels like Esipenko has an easier position to play. I think Sam just, it's that pressure of being White. That's why we kind of joke sometimes that actually sometimes it's nice to be Black. You can just sit back, relax, counterattack, because the opponent feels kind of this moral duty to actually do something to try and be better. That's why Sam pushed e4 when he didn't need to. Now the Black queen is on a beautiful diagonal. Now the Black bishop might come to g5, staring down a nice line. Like you said, the Black knight's getting access to c4. White's bishops, queen, they're all a bit stuck. So Sam should be going into equalization mode, but it's hard after you've played ambitiously like e4. I think he should have just tried to trade everything off and make an easy draw there, but and I think he's caught in two minds how ambitious to be.
It's really tough for these situations, and king to f1. I'm not really sure of that move. It does leave the h2 pawn unguarded. It steps out of the pin, so he would be able to push his f pawn, but I don't think that's a good idea to push that pawn too much when there's a queen already on a7, and the h2 pawn is vulnerable now with the king being placed as it is, so queen to b8, for instance, would be a tempo. Not the end of the world, but it's looking like it is White who has to be really careful here.
Yeah, and shout out to Bick there. He bets that Sam is lip-syncing Taylor Swift to get himself motivated during the game.
Honestly, her new album is really good, so I would not be surprised.
You're a Swiftie, Anna.
I am.
Sam needs to play Swift, but I'm not sure he's a fan of Taylor Swift.
Yeah, especially now with this pin. It looks okay for White to pin that knight, and at the moment it's it stops Esipenko from being able to move the queen to b8. But what about a move like, I don't know, at some point e5? I don't know if immediately or at some point black can solidify that knight on d4 with e5. You can also play bishop to g5 to tickle that c1 rook. In fact, what does white do if you attack the rook?
Yeah, we're going to find out. He plays that move. The rook does have c2 since the black knight is pinned, but it looks really clumsy for white. That's not a square you want to use for your rook. Maybe then we'll see your move e5 in the near future, Anna, and it just feels like it's so passive now. It's all gone wrong for Sam Shankland. Does he
looking really troublesome. He's stepping on the toes of his own pieces. Rook c2 for now doesn't lose material, but where will you move the rook later once the knight is not pinned? The queen will at some point step out of the diagonal. And you can never really take on d4 under good circumstances because black can take back if he wants to, even with the pawn to create a pass pawn, depending on the position, of course, and the specific lines. But there is not really an easy way for white to try to simplify and get out of this pressure.
Yeah, he needs to move his rook to safety next, and he needs to play knight e2, hope the knight somehow disappear without changing the pawn structure, and then he might equalize Sam Shankland, but looking difficult for the moment. Let's see if Jose Martinez is also suffering from the white curse in this round, and is he still on the back foot in his game? It looked like he was facing the best stone wall of all time, Anna, and looks
if we bring
tough.
back our board or the two-board view, because this is it. This is the quarterfinals, the tie breaks. 2 players will be eliminated today. Arjun Erigaisi has already been knocked out by Wei Yi, and we have 2 matches remaining. I think you're right that there is a curse on the players with the white pieces because black is doing amazingly well in this round. Sindarov expanding on the king side, beautiful knight on e4, and if you trade it, there's gonna be a monster pawn on e4 and opening up the f file potentially. Not looking good for the Mexican grandmaster, unfortunately. For Jospem, this is a bit troublesome.
Yeah, I think the most natural move in the position is to play h5, h4, break things open. That was the plan that he initiated with all these pawn pushes, f5, g5, g4, h5. I don't really see what white's doing. He needs to somehow get some counterplay. Maybe he'll take on c6 and put his rook on b7, but it does look very bad. It doesn't look like white has enough files simply on the queen side to get through. The white bishop is terrible. So yeah, I don't think Sindarov should be getting itchy fingers here and taking either of these 2 minor pieces. Probably just h5, h4, maybe rook f7, rook h7, and just build until you're ready. And okay, he puts all his pawns on light squares, but not the pawn I thought he would push, Anna. It's normally against conventional wisdom to play on the side where your opponent's stronger.
It is, and you can see his legs moving, you can see his time management being very slow. He is nervous. Sindarov with the better position, but he's going really low on time. He only has 2 minutes and 15 seconds left against 8 minutes for Jose Martinez, and Jose is a speed demon. You cannot give him this much of a time advantage. So I think the time factor will play a role here, and the nerves, the tension of the knockout system of the World Cup. Both players can feel the semifinals so close yet so far. One mistake and you are knocked out of the tournament.
Oh, it's enough to scare even the bravest of players. And pawn to a6. Martinez now has a decision to trade or to push. Pushing does trap the black bishop on b8. Therefore, it traps the black rook on a8. So something to be said for that. But Anna, maybe that's just too locked up. No open files for the white rooks ever. Whereas taking on c6 does allow the white rook into b7. Maybe that's the path he should be going, Jose Martinez. Big decision, but extra 5 minutes to mull it over.
I think that's what he will do indeed, and Jose will be back in the game, and with the time advantage on the clock, I actually wouldn't be surprised if he can even turn the tables and at some point try to play for a win as well. So far, of course, that's not on the cards. Equalizing is already a big deal when Black's attack on the king side is looking so promising with h5, h4. But you are right, David, that finally things will be happening also on the queen side. And that's what you need. You need active counterplay here for white. You need to pose problems on the queen side so that Black doesn't get a free hand at developing that attack.
And there we go. The pawn trade does open up the B file. And now the blue arrow appears, saying white's best move by far is to actually take off the knights. And that's not easy. We said it earlier. Taking off the knights, which he does find. He does play. It opens up the F file. But now the queen goes back. It hits G4. That's a tempo move. And maybe it's going to go the other way. Maybe to A4 to hit the C6 pawn. That is great geometry from Jose Martinez. And probably the best move.
Incredible find, because it is not that logical to take on e4 and open up the file for the black rook, but it's so concrete. You are right. The queen heads toward the queen side, but with a tempo. h5 has to be played to guard the pawn, and after queen a4, how do you defend that pawn? That pawn on c6 is a huge issue for black. If you defend it with the queen, then the rook could come into the game through the b file.
Yeah, that's the thing. As you say, it's kind of easy to defend the pawn like queen d7, but then the white rook sits on b7 and black is just stuck. Maybe the attack can exist somehow for Sindarov, but he very much has to mate white now. He has to somehow checkmate the white king long term. Otherwise, it feels like Martinez has some really easy moves. Rook b7, queen a4, rook fb1, maybe put the bishop back on e1 to defend everything and just try and break in through the queen side. And h5 played, but just as you said, Sindarov spent way too long on what was almost a forced move there.
Yes, this is too slow. We are in a 10-minute rapid game now for the tie breaks, but he's down to a minute and a half. Jose still over 6 minutes on the clock, and he's more than back in the game. I think he will play queen a4, follow up with that idea that he has prepared with the queen maneuver, and then get into black's camp with the rook as well. Pressure on Sindarov now.
Pressure on Sindarov. Does he take a timeout to defend c6, or does he just motor forward with the attack? h4, if he had one more move, if he could play h4 and white couldn't take on c6, probably that's just a decisive attack. But probably after h4, white does take on c6, hits the e6 pawn, which comes with a check. The white queen will get back the long way round towards the king side. Everything falling with a check for Sindarov. Big dilemma for him. He's looking at the clock as well every few seconds. That's not good news. Under the 1 minute mark. Getting dramatic on time now.
Very dramatic. He goes to e8 to guard the pawn. Logical decision, but now will we see rook coming to b7 or also bishop a5 at some point? Because with the queen on a4 you can, and probably you will, trade those bishops, because it is the white bishop that's logged inside the pawn chain, while the black bishop has been an active and very dangerous piece when it comes to the kingside attack with h4.
Wow, big moment. Rook b7, I would say, is the more natural move, Anna. And there we go, he plays it, but it does lose a chunk of the advantage, if not all of the advantage. Bishop a5, maybe still now possible, but it would lose the b file. And yeah, maybe a missed opportunity for Martinez.
It was a very logical move, but you are right. He might have had to play bishop to a5 first. He's going there now, but that will give up the control of the b file. Trades happen now on f7 and on a5. We are left with only a queen and rook each.
There we go. Key move for Sindarov. He occupies the open file with his queen. And queen b6 is the critical move. If white can play it and back up that pawn with his own pawn or with a rook, then he would love that. But maybe the white king is just so far away that any pure rook endgame, black's king is actually closer to the action. Sindarov, I think he got away with it there. Bishop a5, right idea, just the wrong order from white.
It was indeed the right idea with the wrong mover. They're giving up the control of the b file, and now we are into a balanced position and an endgame, heavy piece endgame, where black is just in time to bring his pieces to the b file. You have to start with queen b7, of course, because otherwise the a6 pawn would have been hanging after rook b8. But Sindarov is back in the game. He's still low on time, so there's still a lot that can happen. For now, though, at least he has managed to equalize on the board, while in the game between Sam Shankland and Andrei Esipenko, we still see pressure on the American Grandmaster, who is slightly worse and has to be precisely defending. At least he has a bit more time than Sindarov to ponder over his moves.
That's right. A bit more time, a few minutes more. And yeah, it's just that dilemma of whether to trade dark squared bishops. That's on the right board. Sam Shankland against Esipenko. It's so passive. All of White's pieces on their back ranks. The first, second ranks. Black's pieces have the potential. But things starting to turn. The last move, apparently a mistake by Sam Shankland. How is Esipenko going to try and punish that? It looks like he's going to infiltrate at some point. Maybe the black rook coming into a3. I'm not sure whether now or later. That's one move on the radar. I don't know if you ever want to trade bishops. Probably not, Anna, but there we go. He jumps in. Very natural.
That looks really promising. Attacking the bishop, you need to probably move the c2 rook so that at least your queen is protecting the bishop and you're guarding that square. You're blocking the d4 pawn. But after rook to c5, is it just simply that Black will be bringing even more pieces to the open file? Can you double, triple on the A file? Or is it the problem that the B5 pawn will be hanging?
Oh, that's a good question. Queen to A7 looks quite juicy. Rook A2 in the air sometimes. Rook A1 sometimes, depending on what White does. Rook C5, there's also ideas of just Rook to C8 first and some tactics in the air. I agree that I don't think bishop takes bishop is what Sam should be doing. There we go. He does move his rook forward. Bishop takes bishop would have allowed rook takes the light squared bishop, and opposite color bishops, White's king would have been way weaker. There would have been some direct problems there. So rook to b3, I didn't even see that one, but very logical from Esipenko, who's just going to try and grab the b4 pawn.
Yeah, and once you grab the b4 pawn, you're guarding your b5 pawn. I completely missed this idea, and it seems very simple. Why not be up a pawn when you can instead of losing your own pawn? There isn't much that White can do here. You need to be holding the d3 bishop, so you need to move your queen to c2 or to d1. Queen c2 seems more active. The queen went to d1. Instead, this is looking so dangerous. Now that the second rank is also open, there's potential check on h3. You can take on f2, bring the rook to b2. There's a lot going on here.
Mm-hmm. A lot going on. He takes the b4 pawn immediately. I'm surprised he allowed some captures on e3. I thought maybe he'll take off the dark squared bishops, keep it safe, just stay a pawn up. The question is whether Sam can, after this bishop trade, grab on e3. He says, no, I'm going to take it with the queen instead. And that's very logical. There might have been a skewer otherwise on the two white rooks. Maybe there'll still be ideas of that nature in the near future. But bishop h3, I loved your check idea, just to kind of force the white king to some really awkward corner squares. It feels like he's only fighting for a draw here, Sam Shankland. I don't know if he's going to make it, though.
It's not easy. He will be able to take that pawn on e3, but I think Black can use that time for the attack, as you've shown with the bishop to h3. The rook, the f8 rook, is still yet to be joining the game, and it might just appear on d8 next move or right now. Pressure on the d3 bishop, and then there can be all sorts of tactical patterns with the pin. In fact, if we start with rook d8 and you take on e3, then the bishop will be pinned through the third rank.
Ooh, that's a very clever idea. He does the same thing, just a slightly different order here. And now bishop takes b5 would be a big blunder. Black would take that bishop, and then there'd be a nasty check on the d3 square, winning a piece. So queen takes e3 is the key idea, but rook to b3, that just looks deadly, Anna. That pin just wins the bishop.
Yeah, I don't think that White can keep his pieces alive. There's too much going on. I like how queen d6 has set up that check on d3 with the capture on b5, so that is prevented. And now that the bishop is hanging, honestly, what can you do? We do have a draw between Jose Martinez and Javokir Sindarov, meaning that there will be, of course, a second game where everything is on the line. This match is still even, and Javokir Sindarov will have the white pieces in the next 10-minute rapid game that could be the last game for either of these players here at the World Cup in the quarterfinals. Sam Shankland in a tough spot against Andrei Esipenko, where it looks like Black has been doing better in the match with the black pieces always. I don't know what's this, but it is the curse for the players with the white pieces. It is that pressure that with white you need to push and try to get something. White did not manage to get much out of the opening, and Esipenko is now pushing with bishop to c4.
Okay, Sam Shankland, some big questions to answer. He still has 2 minutes, so a bit of time to think. The question here is whether he takes this pawn on e3 to defend his rook. Although that feels shaky, Black can play moves like rook b3. White is really struggling to find answers there. Or does he take on c4 first and then try and grab the e3 pawn? I think he can get away with this, Anna, because queen takes c5, not possible due to bishop takes f7 and the white queen would swoop. So maybe bishop takes c4 first, just to make it a bit more simple, then either move the rook or take on e3.
I think that's what he's going to go for, and that is a very instructive tactical pattern, that you cannot grab the rook because the bishop takes f7, winning the queen. Esipenko, of course, doesn't blunder it. He will take on c4 with the pawn. Now the rook is hanging. To guard it, you probably will take on e3 with the queen. So it's even material, but the activity of the black pieces matters a lot. The king's safety matters a lot, and this c pawn is a passed pawn for Black.
Oh, and we might have just seen a big mistake.
He didn't take on e3.
He didn't take on e3, and rook d5 was a mistake. Just to show everyone at home, in this position, Black's queen should have been going to a6. We see the blue arrow. That would have been a key move with c3 coming next, but queen to h6 has allowed Sam back in the game. Not easy, though.
This is still difficult. Guard the pawn on h2 before it's too late. King to g2. It feels still shaky, but for now, things are all held together.
Oh, what do you think the odds of Sam saving this are? It's so dangerous, right? These heavy piece positions with queens and rooks on the board with an open king.
It is still so open, and he doesn't go to g2. He pushes h4. I'm usually a fan of h4, but not here. The white king doesn't feel safe at all.
Yeah, now g3 is so tender. f3 is really tender. It might be due to the fact that the black queen could still swing back, so correcting the mistake he made on the last move, Esipenko. But if he didn't see it last move, will he see it again? That's the big question. He needs to bank everything on the c pawn. Probably the e3 pawn drops now, which is good news for Sam Shankland. He'll balance out the material, but the c pawn is going to be a hard one to stop in conjunction with the attack on the white king. He needs to try and tip Sam's balance over just by combining those two ideas. Queen to f6, the first choice.
Logical to bring the queen in through the diagonal, and also attacks the f3 pawn. At the same time, you prepare to push your c pawn. You prepare to bring your rook to the second rank. There's so many problems in white's position.
Oh, this is really tough now. King g2, much less tempting now that rook b2 check is on the cards. But how else to defend this f-pawn? Rook f5 just looks like a really awkward square. Like you said, the black queen's going to swoop in on the diagonal anyway. Oh, I don't think Sam holds this. I think it's so difficult with half of his opponent's time on the clock as well. That's the tough position.
Very tough position with only 44 seconds left on the clock. There's a 10-second increment in gain per move. He did take on e3 to guard the pawn on f3 that way, but now after rook f to b8, finally the f8 rook is also joining this attack, doubling on the b file. The blue arrow is saying that the only way for white to keep going is to play queen to c3 before it's too late.
Oh, that is so scary. He's found it though, Sam Shankland. Fair play. He's going to have to do exactly what he did in game one, where he actually ended up getting checkmated almost. He's going to have to run with his king to h3. It's lightning striking twice. It's not the first time he's done it today. But if the black rooks give some checks, that's the plan, to hide on this square.
And he might survive this game now that the queen is on c3. The rook endgame wouldn't be that scary. And you are right. The white king finally has some shelter and safety if it is placed on h3. Yes, Esipenko might have missed a big chance in this game.
Wow. We see a check. Sam's gone the wrong way.
E2, I thought he was heading toward H3. What is he doing? This is not the delayed Bonclad moment. Sam, what's your king doing there?
I think he was so scarred, so traumatized by having his king on H3 in the first game of the day that he didn't want to do it again. That's where he ended up almost getting checkmated. Now he's trying to hide in the center. He's trying to use his rook on the second rank to block, but Andrei Esipenko now has a killer attack. He's playing the first obvious move, the first key move. He gives a check. Sam has to block. And now...
You take on D2, the queen cannot take because of rook B2. And if you take with the king, oh boy, this is trouble for the American Grandmaster, and he knows it. I think that the way he sat back at the board and shaking his head now, he knows he went in the wrong direction with the king.
Yeah, it's over. Queen takes D2, rook B2 wins the queen, as you said. If the king takes, the queen can give any check on the D file, and the queen is just coming in. The queen is coming into D1, and it's going to give checkmate. It's over. Sam Shankland is going to have to resign. There we go. He loses again with white, and he's back in a must-win situation.
Goodness me, just when he was about to save the day with queen to c3, finding some really precise defensive moves, he misses the idea of sheltering his king on h3. He stepped in the wrong direction, and Esipenko takes the lead again in their match. There will be one more game at the least, where Sam Shankland is again, as you said, David, in a must-win situation. Can he bring some magic onto the board? That will be the main question. And of course, when we talk about magic, AnyChess, that's exactly what you can get. If you don't want to be prepping against the engine, this is chess, but with a twist. It takes the classic game and flips the script with spell mechanics that let you bend the rules and break your opponent's plans. You've got 11 spells to master, tournaments to enter, and leaderboards to climb. Whether you're a novice or a GM, this is your arena. It's always free to play. You just need to go to go.chess.com/AnyChess or use !AnyChess in the chat. We will be back shortly in a few minutes to continue with the tiebreaks of the quarterfinals. Do not go anywhere, because 2 players are about to be knocked out of the World Cup, and only two will advance to the semifinals. See you in a moment.
Has this ever happened to you?
Oh, shoot. Another mouse slip.
What about this?
Oh, well, holy bishops en passant. I think I'm getting carpal tunnel. If only there was a way to play online chess with a real-life board.
What if I told you you can with Chess Up 2? That's right. With Chess Up 2, you can now play over the board online.
Wow.
Simply connect your chess.com account to our state-of-the-art Chess Up 2 and get a game started. Every time you move, our revolutionary board will transmit the data online directly to your opponent. And as soon as they move, squares will light up, signifying which piece is going where.
Well, shucks. This Hikaru guy seems pretty good.
With Chess Up 2, mouse slips and sore wrists are a thing of the past.
My carpal tunnel is gone. Well, this sure is fun. I'm playing online against my new friend Hikaru. Who needs a family? But I sure do miss clicking on a piece and seeing all of my available moves, like they have on chess.com.
Well, Danny, you're in luck. This feature is totally available on the Chess Up 2 as well.
Wow. Well, I'm convinced. But hey, what if I don't just want to play an opponent online? What if I want to use one of chess.com's other great tools?
I thought you'd never ask. With Chess Up 2, you can fully take advantage of the chess.com integration by playing bots, analyzing your offline games, and even using our optional AI assistants to visualize the quality of moves with color-coded hints.
Well, holy Chess Up, you did it. You made IRL chess cool again.
You got it, Danny.
And how do you know my name?
Play chess today on the board of tomorrow.
We have 4 different puzzles, white to play and win. I think quite clearly the idea would be to get some knight h6, knight h7 mate. We need to get the rook out of the way, so I would assume we go for rook takes g6 first move. I mean, HG, Queen H7, King H7, Knight G5, Knight H6, Knight H7 is direct mate. FG, Queen H7, I guess only King F8 is possible, but then, I don't know. I guess Queen H8, Queen G8, Queen H6, King F7, Knight G5 also works. So. Yeah, amazing. Wow. Can you just show us the moves? Yes, so I will take on G6. Let's say FG. So, okay, this is quite... there should be even many ways to mate, but I guess this is the main motive. Very nice. Wow.
Well done.
Impressive. White to play and win. Quite obviously we have back rank issues. The first thing that came to my mind was some Queen G3, King A8, Queen E3, but I see there's a Queen G6 option, which could be problematic, but maybe then I have Rook D2. So I think that could be a try. King C8 is the only issue. If I go Bishop A7, Queen C2, Queen B8, King D7, Queen B7, Queen C7, Rook, really quite long lines. I mean, Rook D1 I think about King E6 and then I don't really see a clear follow-up. Maybe if I go, but I feel like it's too far. Usually if I have to go that far, solutions are wrong. Yeah, this one is quite difficult. Yeah, I was thinking whether we can use the diagonals, some Bishop D6 followed by Queen H3, but I see there's F5. I mean, I'm talking about Queen G3, King C8, Bishop D6, Queen C2, Queen H3, F5, so I cannot really see any follow-up there. Ah, okay. So we go Queen G4 check, Queen G4, Bishop A7, and then King D7, Rook D2, and Rook C1, I guess.
Very good.
Yeah, this is the typical mistake of not considering unusual moves, yes.
Welcome back to our coverage of the FIDE World Cup. This is the quarterfinals and it's tie-breaks time. We have seen already 2 grandmasters being eliminated in the quarterfinals. Heartbreak for the Indian fans because Arjun will no longer be in the competition. Wei Yi moves on to the semifinals. But we still have 2 matches to follow. David, please tell us, how is the situation in the remaining 2 matches and what's at stake?
Yeah, there's so much at stake. It's a place in the semi-finals where 3 of the 4 semi-finalists will end up playing in the candidates tournament next year, potentially having a shot at the World Championship title. For now, it is a lead for Andrei Esipenko. He's 1 game up after winning with black in the previous game, so he just needs a draw with the white pieces to move on and eliminate Sam Shankland. For Jose Martinez and Javukiz Sindarov, after the chaos of their 15-minute games, where they traded wins. The previous one was a draw. So in order to meet Nodibek Yakuboev in the semi-finals, one of those will have to strike soon. It could be an all-Uzbek clash, or it could be Jose Martinez representing Mexico to move forward. Wei Yi and Nodebek Yakubov are the two sitting there, ready, trying to fight for the candidates.
They are already qualified indeed, and who will be the opponent of Wei Yi depends on the match between Andrei Esipenko and Sam Shankland, where Esipenko managed to win the previous rapid game, and now Sam Shankland is again in a must-win situation. Not the first time that the American Grandmaster is in these shoes, David, where he has to win on demand. Can he do it yet again?
He's capable, Sam Shankland. He lost to Vidit earlier in the event in the 10-minute games with white. He ended up striking back with black. He lost earlier today with white. He struck back with black. Will he manage to do it 3 times? It's tough. You know, with the black pieces, it's especially difficult. Finding the right opening to keep enough tension, to trick your opponents, to keep enough imbalances. Sam has showed so many different strings to his bow. He needs to do it, though, again. And Andrei Esipenko surely is going to play even more solid this time.
I believe so. And there's just so much pressure on every single move. There's so much at stake when it comes to seeing the candidate's qualification right in front of your eyes. You are just yet another step close to it. Like, it feels like you're there, but not quite. And that was the case for Arjun Erigaisi, who is no longer going to be in the competition after today's tiebreaks. What a heartbreak for him. And if he's going to be looking back at the classical game against Wei Yi and the missed chance there, that was a really big opportunity for the Indian Grandmaster.
Yeah, he could have had a winning advantage yesterday, a clear extra pawn. He just stopped his calculations one move too early. It's a very easy mistake to make, but he had a lot of time in his clock yesterday, Arjun. Today, with the lower time, he just found himself outplayed. He was a bit lucky to survive the first rapid game with black in that French defense, then falling with white in the Petrov. Yeah, he will not be looking back probably today. He'll probably want to take a small break. It's been a long few weeks for him, but yeah, painful stuff. Chess is so heartbreaking. And Arjun, the highest seed left. I think that's been the story of the tournament, Anna. The expectations just being flipped on their heads at every turn.
Absolutely. It has been such a storyline for all the top players falling one after the other. And don't be a favorite if you don't have that curse upon you. The underdogs making a beautiful storyline on the other side of that same coin. And we do see some new names, relatively new names. And that also means that the 3 qualification spots are going to be going to 3 players that have never played the candidates tournament before.
Yeah, it feels like Wei Yi, he's been close in the past. He's been in and around the top 10 for a long time. It feels like he's now going to be confident of making it there. But for the others, I think it will be a big surprise, whether it is Esipenko or Shankland, whether it is the 2 young Uzbek players. It's going to be their first time on such a big stage. Or will it be Jose Martinez, who over the board hasn't really had one of these results ever? So yeah, big surprises. It's going to make the candidates even more exciting next year, Anna. Everyone's going to be out for blood, trying to beat each other.
That is going to be the case indeed. And apart from those qualification spots, of course, we also have a lot of money at stake. $2 million prize fund with the first player, the first place, taking home $120,000, $85,000 for second place, $60,000 for the third place, and $50,000 for the fourth. But David, if we look at the third place and the fourth place, it's not the 10K difference that is the most painful part of that story, but what's in the brackets, the candidate spot.
Exactly, that's almost priceless. Probably we can put a price on it. Even last place in the candidates is a huge amount of money, but it's more about the shot at the World Championship title. As we mentioned earlier, all of these players are young. Even Sam Shankland, they're all young. They're all at the peaks of their careers, and just a shot at the world title. They will, especially since Gukesh has had a tough year, they will feel that this is their time. This is a big opportunity, and it's almost within touching distance now. They can feel it. And here we see Sam, must-win situation. It means so much to the players.
Absolutely. There is so much at stake, and our production team with their A-level quotes from Taylor Swift songs. Will he be singing any songs, Sam Shankland, or is it a pep talk that he usually mumbles? We are yet to figure it out. We don't have microphones or any hidden behind the scenes information. So far it has worked though. Whenever you see Sam with the pep talk, whenever you see him mumbling, it somehow works out in his favor.
Mm-hmm. It's it's a good way to keep yourself focused, to motivate yourself. It's worked for Sam. He's trying to lock in now and get in the zone. It's very rare to see Sam out of the zone, of course, but there we see him trying to get focused. Whether he plays the same opening, the Karo-Khan, is yet to be seen. It worked the first time, and here we see a much harder clash to predict, perhaps, Sindarov and Martinez. Both players who only tasted defeat for the first time in the whole event today against each other, but both with very dynamic styles. It's going to be difficult to know exactly what's going to happen next, Anna. We saw Javokir win the last time he had white, so maybe a small favorite to start this one off.
I agree, and at the same time, Jospam is such a beast at speed chess, even more so. He has been doing so well at the World Cup, and the shorter the time control, it feels like the higher his chances. But he has been confident even in classical chess, and he has been doing really well. Kudos to, of course, all the players for making it all the way to the quarterfinals. Unfortunately, 2 of them will finish the tournament today. Who will be the 2 grandmasters that advance to the semifinals, and who will be knocked out? Everything depends on this one single game. For Sam Shankland, he has to win on demand to tie the score and not be eliminated. For Javokir Sindarov and Jose Martinez, whoever wins the game makes it through to the semifinals. In case of a draw, we're gonna see blitz tiebreaks as well.
Mm-hmm. You made a really good point there, Anna. Just the fact that the time is lowering and dropping and getting slashed every kind of after every 2 mini match games, it feels like that suits Jose Martinez. So probably a draw for him isn't bad. It goes to blitz. He's won so many Title Tuesdays. He's so experienced in that field. Sindarov, of course, a great quick player, but maybe he wants to get the job done here and now before it gets to the blitz stage. And we see from Sam Shankland already taking risks. We see the Perk defense, maybe a Philidor soon, and it's another English opening in the board on the left there between Sindarov and Martinez.
They are repeating the English opening, and I am so curious if it's going to be another symmetrical position or G3. White is choosing to fianchetto his bishop, but Jose Martinez is ready to meet that bishop by placing his one on B7. As for Sam, how do you see the opening choice when you're on a must-win situation and you need to somehow complicate matters or get something muddy, messy at the least?
Yeah, I like Sam's opening choice. It worked against Vidit. He played this exact kind of Philidor setup against Vidit in a must-win situation. He rode out the storm. He actually had a very dodgy opening with black, but eventually was able to turn it around and win. He kept a lot of tension. Here, Esipenko, probably having seen what happened in that Vidit against Shankland match, has come up with something I've never seen before, Anna. B3 in an E4 opening this early. And look at this, he's going to castle queenside. He's getting ready to castle long, despite the fact he only needs a draw. This is so ambitious, but also really cool to see.
I like it. And isn't it sometimes the best way to play for a draw, that you play for a win and you force your opponent to have to defend and hold?
Yeah, I mean, it takes nerves of steel, but yeah, that is the best way. Often you get a chance, right? If you go on the attack, you get a chance for a perpetual check or some simplifications later down the line. No need to rush with those. And we see the first new move. Apparently this idea has been played before, so I'm upset at myself that I've never seen it because it looks really cool. It's a bit like the Carlsen variation of the Sicilian, where you kind of bring your queen out to d4, back to d2, fianchetto, castle. But here we see the blue arrow here. Already, Sam needs to start striking, needs to go for the white king.
Yeah, and speaking of opening names, according to chess.com, this is the Philidor defense Hannam Lion variation. Playing the Lion variation in a must-win situation, at least for the name, you gotta do it. That's what Sam is going for.
Exactly. Sam the Lionheart. He's going to go for it. He's going to try and roar in this game. He's going to try and somehow find the courage to strike back. But in the meantime, the white bishop defends its pawn. And I do fear for Sam that if he castles, it's almost an automatic that Andrei Esipenko throws pawns forward, g4, g5. So he's waiting. He doesn't commit. But this bishop move does see the bar rise in white's favor.
Yeah, and Esipenko did have a bit of a moment to prepare for this game, at least by consulting his second Grandmaster David Paravian. And how else would you prepare when you only have a few minutes between games? Bring up a phone, bring up a tablet, and have a few words about what your strategy, what your opening choice will be like. That is as much time that there is between these rapid and blitz games in the tie breaks.
Wow, really cool to see a peek behind the scenes there. We don't often see what happens when players prepare these top grandmasters, but sometimes it's as easy as that. Just a quick chat is enough to boost the confidence. And probably Paravian said, just play b3, bishop b2, queen d2, castle, g4, boom, just work it out from there. Don't even need to know the details. It's just the master plan.
And that's what he's doing. We could show why this pawn on g4 is not that appealing to be taken. Black shouldn't really capture the pawn because that does open up the g file for the white rook, and you are going to end up losing the g7 pawn. Even if you temporarily defend, that knight on g4, h3 will chase the knight away, and rook takes g7, wins the pawn back. And even worse than just winning the pawn back, the f7 pawn is now really weak, and you have a really active piece on g7, the rook and the knight coming in. That would be a recipe for disaster. So instead of that, Sam plays h6 to stop white from pushing g5 that easily.
Yeah, very sensible move. Rook to g1. The downside for Sam now is that he's never, ever going to castle kingside. I think that's just too brave now. g5 is a ready-made hook. The h6 pawn, now it steps forward, will ensure that trades are made. Open lines will suddenly appear. And I think Sam's got to go the other way. Like, whether it's now or whether he waits a couple more moves, he's probably got to go to the long side with his king. That means he will not attack the white king. And, okay, he was swatting away a fly there, it looked like, Sam Shankland. He's not talking to himself anymore. He looked a bit disturbed by something. But probably he'll castle now, Anna.
I think so, and hopefully the fly has left the board for good. They don't need yet another distraction when the stakes are so high already as they are. I'm expecting the king ending on the same flank as the white king. He pushes a6. Okay, so he's so far keeping the option of castling kingside or queenside still open, still flexible. And by pushing a6, he's ready to, at some point, move his c pawn because now the b5 pawn is guarded.
Mm-hmm. Very nice move, very flexible. I think he's got the strategy nailed on. He's got the perfect strategy in these kind of must-win situations. Just pieces on the board, maximum tension, no easy draw, no easy simplifications. But yeah, of course, still a lot of hard work to be done. You might need a helping hand from the opponent later. h4 played by Esipenko, consistent. And yeah, surely Sam's going to run away with his king before it's too late. He's got to get it out of the center. Evacuation time.
It is evacuation time, and not allowing g5, opening up the h file with the king in the middle of the board. I think he will castle now. We could bring our two-board view on the screen for everyone to see what is at stake and what is left in the quarterfinals, the tie breaks. We have two matches on the way. Javakir Sindarov and Jose Martinez. Whoever wins that game is through to the semifinals, and the other player is knocked out. In case of a draw in that game, we will see blitz tiebreaks. While for Sam Shankland, he is in a must-win situation against Andrei Esipenko. Sam still doesn't want to castle. He pushes now on the king side, g6.
Oh, Sam taking some risks, given a question mark his last move. Just to mention the Sindarov and Martinez game, it's a hedgehog system against a kind of semi-Maroxy bind. White has a bit more space, but the queens are off the board. Queens being the first pieces to leave. That's probably good news for black, for Jose Martinez, who's rock solid, but he's also a bit passive. He's going to be hoping to draw that. He did draw a very similar game earlier in their match in the classical portions against Sindarov. So probably Jose Martinez is fine. He's happy. But Sam Shankland probably not happy in his battle. Maybe try and figure out why that was a bad move by Sam.
Definitely, let's dive a bit deeper into that pawn push and why g6 is given a question mark, David. Is it too much of a weakening on the king side and still keeping the king in the middle of the board? Is the waiting too much from Sam?
Yeah, it might be. I don't know if there's a tactical knockout. I don't see anything to take advantage immediately. I'm sure he's going to castle next. The reason he played it, I guess, Anna, is because after g5, maybe he was scared once the black knight moves that g6 might be the follow-up for white to fully extend the g-file. But yeah, maybe it's something to do with, I don't know, a4 and d5 in the center. But I think in practical terms, it's not going to be the decisive factor in this game. I think the question mark, probably true, but I think maybe slightly on the harsh side in this position.
I agree with you. Even if I look at the computer's lines, it doesn't seem to show anything concrete. It's just about the g5 pawn push gaining space and white having better activity, but nothing concrete. The position is not collapsing for black. So it's a human move in a human position where there's a lot at stake and so much pressure on the American Grandmaster. He already made it back in this match in a must-win situation, but now he has to do it again, win on demand with the black pieces. So it's not only that he needs to hold this and equalize here, which is what normally your task would be when you're under attack. He needs to flip the board and somehow bring it on with a counter chance, a counter attack at some point. Castling queenside would be the first move to do that, though. You want your king safe before you're looking for counter chances.
Exactly. It's a matter of time, I think, before the king goes there, but he has shown a reluctance so far, so we shouldn't make bets right now yet, at least about when the king goes. It'll happen over the next 3 or 4 moves, I suppose, Anna. In the meantime, I praised Sam's strategy. I should also praise Andrei Esipenko, firstly, for playing this aggressive line, b3, playing for a win, pushing pawns, but also now with queen e3, he'll probably play king b1 at some point soon. He's just going to sit and wait and say the pressure is on you. And yeah, pressure on all 4 players in that hall or auditorium right now. Must feel like it's shrinking. Fewer and fewer players. And Andrei Esipenko wants to be one of the last 4.
He indeed only needs a draw to make it through to the semifinals. And if you qualify to the semifinals, there's a 75% chance mathematically that you get one of the tickets to the candidates tournament. 3 of the players from the semifinals will qualify to the 2026 candidates tournament. That is so much pressure on every single player here. Even Arjun couldn't hold that pressure. He has just been knocked out in his match against Wei Yi today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pressure gets to the best of us. Andrei Esipenko has a great track record, actually, in the World Cup. In 2021, he did defeat Magnus in one of the classical games. Magnus eventually struck back and won the match, but yeah, he's gone very far, especially for such a young player. Sam Shankland, I think his previous best was also a quarterfinal, I believe, a few years ago. So he has a decent track record too. Both very, very confident players. We see the white king
They
shuffle to
are.
D1.
Yeah, and Sam said that that quarterfinal still haunts him because he was knocked out by Sergei Karyakin and he still dreams about it, thinks about it. He wants to put that nightmare behind him. But in order to do that, he needs to advance to the next round. And that's not an easy job here. When you are down in the match, he needs to win on demand. Kings appear both on b1 and b8. It's the safer placement once you castle queenside. What will be next for white, David? Will we see any pawn pushes with g5, or is Esipenko just playing it very patiently and waiting for what might happen? I like g5 so much. I want him to push, but I don't know if there's anything else that white should be aiming for instead.
Yeah, normally once you've said A, you should say B, right? That's how chess works. Consistency is key. And it's just like life. You've got to be consistent. So g5 would make sense. I quite like the idea of pushing the knight to h5 and only then putting the knight back on e2 for white. So stopping the black knight from coming back towards the center and then just sitting and saying, okay, I have more space. The pressure's on you to do something. It does feel like sooner rather than later, Esipenko should press forward, but maybe there's no immediate rush. He's just got to think about black playing h5, then g5 will open up the g4 square. Maybe that's one thing to avoid in the near future. Anna, maybe we go to the other game just very briefly to do a status update because, again, it still looks very balanced, the other one, much less happening. But I could see Jose Martinez being slightly uncomfortable.
Slightly uncomfortable indeed because of the space advantage of white and activity of the white pieces. It's really hard to untangle those pieces that you're highlighting, David, because of the pressure on the backward d6 pawn, and the lack of space means that your pieces are stepping on each other's toes. You have the d8 knight occupying the square where normally a rook would go. The e8 knight can't really go far away from there because then there will be pressure on the d6 pawn with the knight from d3 jumping away. White can double rooks on the d5. Not immediately, of course. That knight was hanging, but it's maneuvering now toward e4 or a4. There's targets both on d6 and b6.
Yeah, it's the type of position that probably is fine, but if you're slightly inaccurate for 2 or 3 moves, you could find yourself just getting squashed. Maybe white will play like e4, e5, open the position when black's pieces are still so passive. Or maybe white will just sit like e4, bishop back to e3, f4, g4, h4, push all the pawns, and you've got to suffer for a long, long time. Jose Martinez, he's trying to stay in this World Cup by probably just holding this game and taking it down to the blitz.
It's so hard to be in a defensive situation like this, though, where all you have is to make passive moves. There's no real break out of the situation, while white can do a lot of improving moves, including the pawn pushes you mentioned and expanding further. So solid position for Jose Martinez, but it also means it's passive and there's not really any counter chance when it comes to an opportunity to go for something more active, a counterplay with a pawn break. Usually what black would be trying to push either d5 or b5, break out of the situation in the right moment, but it seems very difficult to carry that out.
Yeah, especially while those pieces we talked about, especially the black knights, are not in the game yet. He needs to maybe find 4 or 5 tempi, Jose Martinez, just to set up those pawn breaks. So Sindarov, if he finds a breakthrough, we'll try and go for it. But for now, he's controlling most of the board. And yeah, maybe we'll come back to this one later if he can find a way to spice things up. For now, still looking very quiet. Andrei Esipenko against Sam Shankland. It just feels like that's the game. That's the one. And Sam is making his move, Anna. He's trying to go for it now. He's got a big threat on the board. Let's go over to that game.
Yes, now that Sam Shankland has pushed his c-pawn, there's finally an immediate threat. He is threatening the pawn on d4 and also threatening to trap the white bishop with c4. Esipenko takes on e5.
Mm-hmm. And which way to take back? He's maybe thinking about c4, Sam Shankland, but I don't think it quite works right now. The big question is which way to take, with a knight or the pawn in the center.
Yeah, that is a big question. And the reason why c4 doesn't work is because there's counter opportunities with capturing on d6. The diagonal of the b2 bishop opens up. The rook on a8 will be hanging. The queen and the bishop will be hanging too. So you're trapping the white bishop on d3, but black's pieces will be falling too. Instead of c4, you gotta take back on e5 to block that diagonal. Will he take with the pawn or with the knight? What's your call, David?
I think, I was going to say, in a must-win situation, I would probably take with the pawn just to keep more pieces on the board. And I also think the white knight on f3 was a bit misplaced. Like, okay, he doesn't even need to trade. Maybe that's another reason Andrei Esipenko maybe profits from this knight takes e5 move. But I was going to say, once the white knight moves, now it's easier to play moves like f4. Whereas if you'd taken with the pawn, the white knight on f3 is still a bit in the way. And yeah, the black knight maybe could have come to b6 as well to cover this d5 square that the white knight is now trying to hop into. That was a great move by Esipenko, missed, I think, by Shankland.
That could have been easily missed, and that's the reason why now white's position is a good bit better. You see the evaluation bar shooting up further and showing that white is doing really well. I love this knight maneuver, giving space to the bishop, so it prevents the trapping of the bishop with c4, and at the same time you're activating your knight heading toward the weak d5 square. I think you are right that Sam should have taken on e5 with the pawn and head toward the b6 square with his knight. You cannot take your moves back, unfortunately, in chess, and this is the position we currently have. The bishop retreating to e2, opening up the d5 for the rook and preparing potentially for a knight jump at some point to d5.
Yeah, this is suddenly looking really good for white, and it's becoming clear that the black knight on h5 is misplaced. if he could pick that up and put it anywhere else, like b6 or something, then he covers d5. He's probably totally fine or more. But Sam's knight on h5 is just offside. I thought this would be his day. There was a Scottish player called Shankland who scored for Scotland yesterday to qualify for the World Cup in the football. But maybe for Sam, this is not going to be his day. And the blue arrow appears. Big mistake. Andrei Esipenko can increase the advantage by taking that knight off the board and maybe taking the other one off with his bishop.
Will he find it, though? That's not that easy of a sequence to want to trade both knights, especially since we highlighted how this knight on h5 is such a misplaced piece. It takes forever for black to activate it and maneuver it back toward the center. So it's a very concrete line where you take on e5, you take on h5, and then with queen h3, you're claiming that no one can guard that h5 pawn. You're going to be up material.
Yeah, that's always the trickiest thing, transforming the advantage. He knows he's better, Esipenko. He might not want to do anything. Sometimes there's that urge, especially when a draw is fine, that you just want to sit. You don't want to touch too much. You don't want to change the status quo. But yeah, this might be the moment, at least according to the computer, where he can trade off. There we go, knight takes knight. I think that will be followed up by a capture of the black knight before it comes into f4. That's a big positional threat now for the black knight to recentralize. So he will take it off. He's finding all the best moves, Andrei Esipenko.
He is. He has sensed the moment. He senses the opportunity with the bishop on f8, blocking the way of the rook. That's the key at the end of this line, that the rook can no longer guard the h pawn after queen to h3.
Will he Esipenko for bishop takes h5? Will it be Esipenko KO knockout in this game?
He's trading on d8. Okay, it could still be similar. I guess the idea is still in the air with queen h3 after the rook trade. So if he takes on h5 and plays queen h3, it looks like there is no way for Sam Shankland to guard the pawn. The game is not fully over, but it's quite a good thing to have an extra pawn when all you need is a draw.
Exactly. And yes, Sam Shankland has the bishop pair, but it might not survive for much longer. Knight d5 is a classy move. It's tactically based. And I guess if bishop takes knight, the pawn recaptures. If the rook captures on d5, white has the move c4 and the e5 pawn will fall. Maybe there's even more. Maybe he'll just slide his queen to f3 and go after the h pawn anyway. And he's trying to make sure that black doesn't even enjoy the bishop pair now.
Wow, this is brutal. The forcing line here for white, the simplifications, and it is all in favor of white's pieces, that everything is opening up. You are right that e5 pawn is such a target, and the skewer with the bishop attacking both the black queen, and behind the black queen you see the king on b8. That would be really troublesome. I think Sam still needs to do it, right? He still needs to take the pawn and then hope for the best.
Yeah. Sometimes that's just the best way. Like white would have otherwise put a rook on d1 and it would have been more Esipenko for black there. And this time, okay, he goes for the h pawn finally, but still looking good for Esipenko.
It does look very good for Andrei Esipenko, who only needs a draw to qualify to the semifinals, but he is the one pushing here, trying to get a second win in. But we have seen this so many times at the World Cup, that you play for a win, and if you want to, at the end of the day, you might offer a draw in a winning position because all you need is that qualification. So whether it's a draw or a win for Esipenko, he will be through. Sam Shankland needs a miracle to not only hold this position, but somehow trick Esipenko into making mistakes.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, but he just has to keep the game alive, Sam. That's the only job now for him. He needs to push a pawn to c4. He needs to scare Esipenko somehow. He just can't allow immediate draws. That's the only thing he needs to think about. Just keep it alive. Keep it alive. It's going to be difficult, but he's still in this one. In the meantime, if we go out to the two-board view, just a small update that Sindarov has been doing good things. He's made a beautiful outpost for his knight that's on the left board. Anna, that white knight is going to be supported by a pawn in the near future. It's going to be hard to get rid of that one.
That's so scary. That knight is a monster. an octopus knight, not maybe in the most traditional sense, but it's a very strong piece on the 6th rank, all the way in the camp of your opponent. And I love the idea of supporting it with b5, which would also fix the b6 pawn. The d6 pawn is still a target too. Jose has been defending accurately and precisely as much as he could, but it's just such a passive position. White has improved his position while Black could only do waiting moves, and that's the price of a position like this. At the end of the day, White can improve, make progress, while Black is locked down in this defense very passively.
Yeah, very passive. And we won't stay here too long, but I wanted to say, like, Jose Martinez, if he loses this game now and gets knocked out, this is the most painful way, because it's been such a passive game. Like, it's not been his usual kind of active counterplay. There we go. The knight has been cementoed into c6 now. This is tough stuff, and Jose just hasn't been allowed to play his brand of chess in this game. It's been perfect so far from Sindarov. I think he's setting up the breakthrough with f4, e5 type ideas. But okay, still a long way to go here.
Still a long way to go, but I fully agree with you that for Jose, this has been such a difficult game and he's not getting any counter chances. Sindarov has made sure that anything and everything that Black might aim for was taken away from him. He has been playing in a very prophylactic way, improving slowly but surely his position. And it's such a painful, difficult position to hold when there's no activity, no active counter chances. I mean, remember the game when Jose went sacrificing 2 pawns when he only needed a draw? That's how he plays chess, but he cannot do it here. He's tied down to this passive defense.
Exactly. And a question mark, I think that's harsh. White is still better, so I don't blame Sindarov at all for pushing his pawn. There was better ways to go about this, maybe just pushing the rook up 1 or 2 squares to stop the black rook coming in. But here, Jose needs to take the pawn. He needs to get his rook active. Probably after that, he needs to bring his other rook round to the A file to support both rooks. Difficult, though, because he didn't do it on the last move. And what do you think, Anna? Is he going to finally get his rook active and at least one piece in the opposition half?
I think he will. I think he has to. He has to. If he does not, he doesn't really have much going for him. I think he will sense this opportunity to activate the rook, and he does. He does take on b5. The rook appears on a4. At least some activity finally for the black rook. And if we look at the 2 boards all at the same time happening here, quarterfinals, tie breaks, Andrei Esipenko is about to eliminate Sam Shankland. Esipenko is in the lead. He only needs a draw, and yet he is winning with the white pieces. Goodness me, that is looking so bad for Sam, even if he is mumbling, trying to give some pep talk to himself, perhaps, but it might be too late for pep talks.
It looks too late. He's a pawn down, and he has the more open of the kings. Esipenko's geometry has been perfect. The back rank is covered. Any rook checks are covered by the white queen. That means that he can safely go on the attack himself, and this check might be fatal for Sam Shankland. The black king cannot step back. If it goes back to the corner, rook takes pawn, swinging across would end in checkmate. He therefore has to block with his bishop, but Anna, I think there are tactics there. A severance tactic. The white bishop can step forward to d6. It might just be resignation time.
What a move that would be to get your ticket to the semifinals, one step closer to the candidates tournament. Bishop d6 to capitalize on the pin. Will we see that on the board? Sam is in deep trouble here. He is about to be knocked out by Andrei Esipenko, and he did say that the quarterfinals he played against Sergei Karyakin still haunts him to this day, and he is yet again to be, unfortunately for him, knocked out in the quarterfinals today against Andrei Esipenko.
Oh, so close. He's the last player in his 30s still standing in the tournament. But there we see the realization on his face. Nothing left to do. It's too late. Andrei Esipenko leaning back. He's seen the winning continuation here. And it was Sam taking risks. We can't blame him. This black game, he did everything he could to try and imbalance it. Just not enough. Unfortunately, this time, it was with the white pieces that the real damage was done. He drops his queen back. That is a sad move to have to make. That's the only way to dodge immediate knockout, immediate defeat. But a queen trade, Anna, he's not going to win this game.
He's not going to win it, unfortunately, for Sam. This could be the end of his World Cup dreams. The trade happens on e7. White can simply pin that bishop to force further trades or even win that bishop. It is unfortunately the final moments of this game for Sam Shankland. He brings the rook back to the 7th rank, but you cannot do anything about that pin. He cannot win the piece yet, Esipenko, with bishop f6, because bishop takes f6 is a check. But there is no need for an immediate win. You can take on c4 as Esipenko does, and Sam Shankland resigns. What a heartbreak for the American Grandmaster, and celebration, of course, for the fans of Andrei Esipenko, who qualifies to the semifinals.
Yeah, we saw the last Indian Grandmaster leave the competition, Sam Shankland, for the USA. It's heartbreak for him now, departing so close to the candidates again, but the dream was not meant to be. Esipenko just looked in control. There was one shaky game earlier today, but otherwise he did look very impressive. And we'll be seeing him again in the competition as we see Sam leave the arena there. That leaves just one battle, one clash, one match. Anna, it's still huge space advantage for Sindarov, but can he make anything of it?
That's what he's trying. He has been here enjoying the space advantage, but we were celebrating that at least for Jose, there is this rook on a4 that has gotten some activity. It's still not much that Black can show for the passive pieces and the weaknesses. The b6 pawn constantly under attack. The d6 pawn is a backward pawn too. Very strong piece placement for White, putting pressure on Black's camp. But so far, Jose is holding his ground. He's trying to keep everything defended.
Yeah, the question is, how long will that remain the case? Can he just curl up into a ball and cover everything forever? Normally, this type of strategy doesn't work out. It's so passive. Probably here he should be at least trying to block, there we go, the advance of the white pawns. But now the black king is potentially vulnerable on the h8 square. So the white bishop on d4 teamed up with the white rook on the open h file. Maybe some checkmating ideas in the air, Anna. It feels like he's going to get hit by attacks in several angles.
I'm afraid that's what we're about to see. The rook comes to d2. Also makes sense because you might end up doubling rooks on the h file. You might end up maneuvering those rooks either to the h file or to the queen side, depending on what will black do. But rook h2, rook h1 would not be a bad start, especially if you can include bishop d4 in that mix.
Oh, this is so tough. Like the black rook on c7, if it ever retreats off the 7th rank, e5 will break through due to a pin. The black bishop can't move. The black knight doesn't really want to move. It's hard to find any solutions. And he's down under 45 seconds. Jose Martinez, is this his last game of the event? He's looked so good for the last few weeks. Rook a3, he pins. This could be incredible for Uzbekistan. Imagine two of them facing each other in the semifinals. That guarantees at least one candidate, Anna, if it happens.
It guarantees one candidate. It guarantees one grandmaster from Uzbekistan making it all the way to the finals, because indeed they are on the same side of the bracket. Yakuboyev is already in the semifinals, and Sindarov might just be about to knock out Jose Martinez and also qualify. The two Uzbek grandmasters will face each other in the semifinals. This could be huge for Uzbekistan. Two of their players still standing in a field where a lot of the heavy top favorites have been dropping one after the other, including Arjun Erigaisi today against Wei Yi.
Wow, favorites falling. Jose Martinez almost fumbling his piece there. He brings his rook back to where it came from. He's putting pressure on white's pawns, trying to persuade Sindarov that he cannot make progress by moving his rooks away. But sooner or later, it does feel like checkmating ideas on the H-file will enter his mind. Yeah, lots of Jose Martinez fans in the chat asking him to defend like he's never defended before. He needs all of his defensive skills just to cling on, just to survive a few moves longer here, and to ultimately try and get that draw that would bring it to blitz.
And that would be a huge result already if he manages to survive this game, and the match would keep going into shorter and shorter time controls. That's exactly what Jose needs. But for that, he has to survive this really difficult endgame. king to e2 by Sindarov, heading toward the center of the board. But the computer says it's not the best move. It's just so cruel, so hard. They don't have much time. There's so much pressure, so much at stake. One of these players will go home today, and the other one will have a chance at the candidates tournament. Very good chance to qualify to the candidates.
And according to the computer here, Black has to push his F-pawn, or he just has to keep suffering. And there we go. Jose down to just a few seconds left. He went under 10
he
seconds
finds
there.
it. He always senses the opportunity to go active. That is a trademark of the Mexican Grandmaster. He feels it. This is his opportunity to make a comeback in this game. F5 allows the en passant capture, but that doesn't look actually that appealing for white because it activates the Black Knight. You can take on F5 as white instead, in which case it probably will be G takes F5, capturing toward the center. Is that what Jose wants, David?
Definitely, and it's a huge improvement for Black. Like, yes, white gets a protected pass pawn, the G5 pawn, but that's easily blockaded. Black suddenly gets a central pawn mass that could start advancing. It's the type of position that if Sindarov loses a bit of control, he could start to get scared. He might try to bail out. Yeah, I think he went for the wrong plan. King back to e2 is a safety first move. He should have been playing bishop d4 to stop exactly what just happened to f5. And here we see critical moment. If Black gets a few more moves now, like king f7 is able to prepare e5, maybe e5 now, then this is getting way better than it earlier was for Jose Martinez. It's turning.
It's absolutely turning from a very passive position where Jose could do nothing but wait. He's finally on the active side of the defense. It's still not clear, and he's really low on time. But the Mexican Grandmaster has done miracles to make a comeback in this game and fight on. Rook to a3 now, pinning the bishop, threatening to take on f4.
Oh, great move, but he's going to have to keep finding these good moves. Under 20 seconds, Martinez... The white king drops back, breaking the pin. The e5 pawn is under pressure. Oh, he brings his rook back where he came from. He's just lost 2 tempi. I think this is the panic. This is the clock playing its role.
And now the e5 pawn will probably be captured. It was a mistake to go back with the rook, but he had no time, and the nerves, the pressure of this match is kicking in. Will Sindarov go for the pawn capture on e5?
Sindarov is now winning. It's not just the fact that e5 drops, but it's the fact that b6 loses its defender, and f5 hanging. Jose Martinez, only 2 pawns left, and both of them are terminally weak. Anna, he can win 1 pawn. He can win the c4 pawn, but he might be facing an endgame 2 pawns down. Best case scenario for Black, he probably gives up his bishop for all of white's pawns, and we'll see rook and bishop versus rook. But even that is a distant dream right now.
Very distant dream, unfortunately, for Jospem. This is such a sad endgame. He fought so well, but then he went wrong by bringing the rook back and allowing Sindarov to capture on e5, with the problem being that the b6 pawn falls as well, the f5 pawn falls as well, and you cannot prevent both passed pawns from marching up the board. This is so tough. Chess is brutal, and the knockout format even more so, David.
Yeah, this is heartbreaking. If Black had 1 more tempo, maybe bringing the king forward to g6, maybe getting some counterplay, there's a chance of survival. If Black would maybe have the rook already behind the b pawn, maybe still some chances. But yeah, 1 or 2 moves here and there, they do count. And it's the b6 pawn he was reaching towards, Sindarov. I think I would be tempted to do the same. Probably an argument to be made for capturing both of those black pawns. You can do it in either order, but he's going to get a winning endgame either way. Should be close now.
He is calculating again, just double, triple checking, ends up capturing the b6 pawn. It still keeps Jose's pawn alive. He might want to push that pawn to f4 so that it's at least it stays on the board.
Okay, and that's a bit of an odd move from Sindarov. I guess he just wants to put his rook on a light square so he doesn't blunder it. And since the opponent has a dark square bishop. Now, though, I do think the black king should start running forward. Like, you've got to create some counterplay sooner or later. If you sit near the g-pawn, maybe you can win the g-pawn and then give your bishop up for the other pawn on the other side. Maybe that's the best bet. He plays bishop e7, also very logical, keeping an eye on the g-pawn. He's not dead yet. He's not out of it.
No, this is still a practical chance. Maybe that's why Sindarov should have taken the F pawn, because it feels like this isn't as clean and smooth as it could have been for Sindarov. Jospem fighting so hard. He is a true warrior. He wants to make it to the semifinals, and for that, he first needs to survive this game and make it to the blitz tiebreakers. What a match this has been. This is already move 53.
Wow, what a marathon battle. I think we're going to go at least another 20, 30 moves here, maybe more if we get rook and bishop versus a rook. That's my prediction, Anna, that we'll see that endgame.
Goodness me. Goodness me. I mean, for Jose, that would be, I think, still a dream scenario if he can get to a rook and bishop against rook and defend. Even if it takes 50 moves to defend it, another 50 moves on top of the already played 53 moves. What is going to happen after King F3?
Sindarov making a mistake. That's his first real sin of the game over the last couple of moves. And the Black King's coming. King E6 or King G6. The White Rook is about to be booted off the 5th rank and the pawns are dropping. He has to go back to E5. He's the one who's lost a couple of tempi now. The Rook just came from there a few moves ago. Now bishop to D6 maybe would be the most natural move. He's fighting back. Martinez is back in the game. Sindarov's getting nervous under time pressure.
Goodness me, both of them are so nervous, and understandably, everything is at stake in this one single game. One of these players will be eliminated today, but so far, Jose is trying his best to not be the one that gets knocked out. Rook to E5 by Sindarov, also a strong move. Jospem giving a check on C3. The king goes up to E4. You could not take on F4 because of bishop D6 winning the rook on E5.
Oh, but there we go. Another mistake for Jose Martinez.
Oh, no.
Oh, this check is brutal. Now the Black King has nowhere good to go. It cannot step to the G6 square because of a rook check, picking up the Black Bishop. It therefore steps across, but now the connection's been severed between the king and the pawn. It's got a clear runway. It's going to push through. This is hopeless now for Jose Martinez. He needed to keep his rook on C4, stopping the White Bishop coming back to the center.
What a heartbreak for Jospem after such defense. He's been fighting so hard, and then in the time trouble, he did not find the final accuracy that he needed to defend this endgame. White's king is already on D5, threatening to give a check on F6, threatening to push the B pawn further. He pushes his pass pawn F3, but unfortunately, it's not enough. How do you stop the B pawn?
Sindarov is so close, just a few moves away from the semifinals. Black's rook is just on the wrong side. It needs to get back to the other side of the board. He retreats it. Oh, he's playing moves with seconds left, Martinez. But the white pawn now one square away. The Black rook still can't get back to stop it. The Black bishop is the blockader, but there's threats to trade it off. Bishop C5 is the immediate threat. Trading off that bishop.
And that's a big one. Bishop goes to H2 to prevent bishop C5, but now bishop E5 can be played. And you cannot stop both pawns of white from advancing.
One accurate move. Will Sindarov break the connection on that diagonal and run through? He will win the Black bishop. That is guaranteed now. He reaches for a queen.
He takes a queen. He is already ready to promote. If you take on E5, rook takes E5 is check, and next move you promote. So Black has to play rook to B4, give up the bishop for the B pawn.
Jose Martinez is staring down elimination. White can take the Black bishop. Nope, he actually queens instead. He does make use of the queen.
Oh, resignation. This is it. Unfortunately for Jospem, for Jose Martinez, this is the end of his World Cup dreams. And for Javokir Sindarov, he is through to the semifinals. Goodness me, what a battle this has been, David.
Wow, such small margins at this high level. Sindarov, though, he controlled this game. Great opening. He maneuvered better than Martinez. He made his opponent's pieces passive. And yes, there were some moments where he wasn't playing the best moves, but he did enough. And there we see the joy on the Uzbek youngster's face. The last remaining teenager, he has made it through. He will meet his countryman, Nodibek Yakubov, in the semifinals. One of them is guaranteed in the candidates. Maybe both of them can still make it there. What a win. But heartbreak for Jose Martinez, who was so good the whole event until today.
He's done such a phenomenal job, Jospem, to make it all the way to the quarterfinals, and he did have chances in the quarterfinals too, but it is in the end Javokir Sindarov that makes it through and will be facing, as you mentioned, David, his compatriot, his teammate Nodirbek Yakuboyev. So there will be at the least one Uzbek Grandmaster qualifying to the candidates tournament, and one of them will also be sure to qualify to the finals. That is, I think, celebration for Uzbekistan. They have done a phenomenal job. They are the only nation with 2 players remaining from their country.
Yeah, incredible. I don't think anyone predicted this, that there would be 2 Uzbek players in the semi-final, and neither of them would be Nodirbek Abdusattorov. It's his teammates who have risen to the challenge after he was eliminated early, and many congratulations to them. But yeah, it's always bittersweet, right, Anna? Saying goodbye to players who it feels like they deserve to be there too. But that's what we had to do, and we saw that end game. It was one slip up by Jose at the end that blew his chances.
It's a heartbreak for Jose Martinez, celebration for Javokir Sindarov and the Uzbek Chess Federation and everyone in Uzbekistan. On the other line of the bracket, we will see Andrei Esipenko facing Wei Yi, eliminating Arjun Erigaisi today. All of the top players, all of the heavy favorites have fallen in this tournament. The World Cup is a brutal knockout system, and we will be back with the semifinals. Not tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow. Finally, there's a free day, a rest day for the players, much deserved. And when we are back on Friday, take a look at this beautiful map and how early or late you need to be here in order to catch the action live. Thank you so much in the name of the entire production team here at chess.com. David, it has been such a pleasure and so exciting to cover today's tiebreaks.
Likewise, Anna. It's been too long since we last commentated together. It's always a lot of fun, and today was extra dramatic. I'm looking forward to the semi-finals, though. I think back in the classical chess, there'll be more real high quality on display, and still the title for World Cup winner, the candidate spots on the line.
So much at stake. 3 of the players in the semifinals will get a ticket to the candidates tournament. Who will be the 4th player who doesn't? That's gonna be really painful, but we will soon figure it out in just a couple of days' time. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and see you soon in 2 days' time. Friday, same time, same place, World Cup semifinals. Thank you so much, and have a lovely, lovely day.
December, the world turns to Doha, Qatar for chess at its fastest and fiercest. The 2025 FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Championships bring the globe's elite to battle under lightning time controls. December 26th to December 30th, Rapid and Blitz formats designed to reward precision, courage, and creativity. In the heart of the Middle East, Doha offers more than a board, a world-class venue, a cultural backdrop, and a stage worthy of legends. With a €1 million prize fund on the line and the title of world champion at stake. The 2025 FIDE World Rapid and Blitz Championships, the ultimate test of fast chess.
Welcome to the FIDE Online Chess Museum. The International Chess Federation proudly presents the FIDE Chess Museum, an online space celebrating the rich history and evolution of chess. Explore exhibits that trace the game's fascinating journey. Discover the origins of chess, beginning in the distant past, and follow FIDE's centenary journey. Rare chess sets, unique books and memorabilia, autographs of chess legends, trophies of historical tournaments, and stories of the chess champions. Explore the game's legacy and future. Chess is more than a game. It's a global culture of strategy and unity. Join us to experience this unique online journey where history, culture, and passion for chess converge. And also on your phone.